the NCCU Sports Network. Carter Woodhill here with you alongside Stan Luter. And Stan, for the fans tuning in, who are the players that they got to keep an eye on for this MEAC matchup today?
I think early on, one of the names that you need to watch is going to be Kalen Newton, obviously the quarterback, the last year's Rookie of the Year in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. A very quality young quarterback who's gotten better over the summer and throughout this season. Passing, reading defense, understanding what he's got to do. He's kind of the straw that stirs the drink for Howard football, so we'll see how he moves them offensive. Nail Ramadan, if he gets to start, and I think he will, is a guy as the quarterback for the Eagles has got to have a solid football game. Last week, very inconsistent on offense after that. The Eagles have found a way to put the ball in the end zone and keep Howard out. So those are two guys that we're going to look at early, and there are a whole lot of other guys from the Bison side and from the Eagles side that we'll talk about.
Yeah, what is the key to stopping a guy like Newton if you're the Eagles defense? Because coming out and having a good start on defense is going to be really important for this team.
Well, I think defensively you've got to keep him under pressure. You've got to make him uncomfortable, take away his sight and his throwing lines. Confuse him if you can defensively. He's still a young quarterback, only his 14th ball game. So there's still a lot of things he hasn't seen, and you know that Coach Eastman has kind of tried to devise some kind of a game plan. But put pressure on him early, take him off rhythm, and hopefully if you're a North Carolina Central fan, you can take advantage of that and score early.
All right, Howard entering this game with a 1-0 record in MEAC play. North Carolina Central, the flip side, they're at 0-1. Kickoff is coming your way in just a few minutes. This is North Carolina Central football and MEAC football on ESPN3 and the NCCU Sports Network.
So there's no monitor?
No monitor.
Solutions Incorporated, making a difference one child at a time.
Welcome back to Durham, North Carolina, here at O'Kelly Riddick Stadium, ready for some MEAC football. Carter Woodeel and Stan Luter here with you on ESPN3 and the NCCU Sports Network, getting ready for the second game of conference play for each of these sides. And it'll be the Bison that begin with the football in the white uniforms, North Carolina Central in their home maroon with the black numbers, and we are ready for some football here on this college football Saturday. North Carolina Central entering this game after a tough loss to Florida A&M to start off their season. Looking to bounce back here in front of their home fans. And so it begins. Opening kickoff heads through the end zone for a touchback, so Howard will begin their first drive of the game at their own 25. And we will get our first look at Kaylin Newton, this dynamic performer for the Howard Bison.
Interesting to watch Kaylin Newton. As we mentioned earlier, last year's the MEAC Rookie of the Week, of the year, in the Bethune-Cookman game a week ago. 301 yards of passing, 2 touchdowns on 20 of 32. He's making better decisions with the football. But there's some guys that we'll talk about. Ezard, one of the wide receivers, one of the top receivers in the MEAC, along with Kyle Anthony, number 81. Keep your eye on those two guys as his primary receivers.
Having those two tall guys up front, really important for any quarterback, especially a guy who's in a tough system. And the first snap of the game. Newton surveying his options, going deep, looking for Ezard. It's out of his reach. Overthrows him. Good coverage there from Jaquel Taylor, the free safety, and it's 2nd and 10.
We're going to see a lot of matchups this afternoon. They're going to try to stretch the field. And Jaquel Taylor is going to be tested. Anthony Sherrill is going to be tested. Demario Evans along with Aaron Duncan. Those 4 defensive backs are going to have to play good press coverage and, man, sit back in zones. And the one thing you cannot do is let those wide receivers of Howard get behind you.
Newton fires to Kyle Anthony for a short game, but they wrap him up nicely. A couple of Eagles on the tackle starting off. So a short gain, and a 3rd down and long-ish is coming up for the Bison here.
Over the season, this is a team in Howard that's 41% on 3rd down conversions, number 2 in the MEAC.
So 3rd down and 5. Can the Eagles get a big stop to start off this game? Would be big for momentum for their defense. Newton is ready, looking over the right side, pass complete, and he gets the first down and more across the 40, across midfield, and just gets shoved out of bounds at the last moment. That was Taylor, it looked like, that got the last shove on Alay, the man who brought in the pass.
And you've seen 3 different styles of passing so far out of Howard. They try to go deep over the top on the first play, a little inside slant route on the second. They look quickly out. The wide receivers of Howard are very good in the open field. They'll take a short pass and take that 5, 10, 15 extra yards. Poor tackling that time by North Carolina Central.
So Howard into Central Territory, and a little trickeration here on the next play. Good job to adjust from the Eagles defense, and it's only a gain of a couple. Dedrick Parson looked like the man that got that carry.
Howard, the number 3 offensive team in the MEAC, scoring just under 29 points a game. Defensively, North Carolina Central has been victimized by a couple of big ball games. The last week against FAM, week before against Duke, giving up over 41 points a game.
They look for Parson again, and he stays on his feet, nearly tackled for a loss, but dives forward to get maybe a yard. Good athletic play by Parson to avoid the oncoming tackler.
Really like Derek Parsons. Caught 7 passes so far on the season, but they use him as a primary back so far this year. 23 carries for 79 yards. Hasn't scored it on the ground, but he, among other guys, are those outstanding backs that can catch the football. 3 wide receivers now to the left, so you pretty much know you're going to be second. Some kind of man situation for Central.
So 3rd down and 8 on the opening drive, and Newton decides to take it himself, and he gets the first down by a yard or 2, heading out of bounds. Just did get past that marker. Newton making a good play there, just hustling up that open side of the field.
And this is how Howard really beats you. They show you different formations. They were trips left, so your defense adjusts to that side, and the open side, the weak side comes, and Newton sees it and picks up 15 yards and gets yet another first down for the Bison.
So at the Eagles 35, Howard looking to keep rolling. Mentioned in the pregame or before this game, we were talking about how stopping the run was going to be a key for the Eagles. They're near the bottom of the conference in run defense. And Newton rolls out to his right once again, looking for Ezra, but that throws well offline.
And you saw an example there of the version of the RPO. They'll give it to the back. Newton will make a decision at the last moment to keep or throw. That time a little wild on his throws. He has a tendency sometimes to be a little high with some of his throws under pressure. That time he could have settled in and just made an easier pass. But North Carolina Central defensively must stand up right now.
2nd down and 10 for Howard. The opening drive of this football game.
A guy, I think, if you're an Eagle fan, that you've got to keep an eye on and play well today is Devontae Reynolds, number 22, that outside backer.
Flag on the play as they throw it in. Not going to get anything. Not going to get back to the line of scrimmage. We'll see where this flag is. As it stands, it's a loss of a couple, but we'll see which way this goes. Our referee today, Rick Warren. And that'll push back the Bison back. James Holloman, the fifth-year senior center, called for the hold. And so 2nd and very long coming up for the Bison here.
James Holloman's the linchpin of this offensive line for Howard. Goes 6'4", 320 pounds. Twice he's been MEAC Offensive Lineman of the Week. But Young and Johnson on his left side, Shadrick and Fleming on his right are all solid offensive linemen.
Newton looking deep for Ezzard. He's wrapped up. No flags. Oh, there's the flag at the last moment. And the Central fans unhappy with the call. Late flag coming in. They're looking for Ezzard on the play. And we'll see if this is going to be pass interference. That's the signal the official just gave down there.
Well, to look to me,
it is a 15-yard penalty for pass interference there.
But he called the flag, threw the flag after the play. I was actually thinking maybe he was throwing the flag for a celebration. It was really good coverage that time by Jamarcus Johnson. And we mentioned again, these defensive backs and safeties are going to be tested this afternoon against Howard.
So they send it through again. Good ground game for Howard once again, diving inside the 20, and that is just enough for a first down from Khalid Dorsey, the true freshman, sending that ball through.
The offensive line of Howard goes about 300 pounds for a man. The defensive front for North Carolina Central averages about 265 pounds.
So into the red zone are the Howard Bison. 1st and 10 from the Eagles' 19. And Newton is back in the pistol for Howard. Newton looking for Anthony toward the goal line, batted away, and this time the flags stay in the referee's pockets. Good coverage there from Devontae Reynolds.
Good job. We talked about Reynolds a moment ago as one of those guys that I think NCCU really needs to play well. Last season was a preseason All-American, an All-Conference performer a season ago, maybe one of the best defensive backs, outside backers in college football on the FCS level. Big-time play that time by Reynolds.
And NCCU is doing a good job of preventing those big shots on 1st down, forcing 2nd and long early on in this drive. Can they get the stop that they've been looking for? Newton ready once again. Doesn't like his options, so he runs it up the gut, gets inside the 10, has the first down inside the 5. And North Carolina Central is going to have a goal Howard's going to have a goal to go snap here inside the 5-yard line.
One of the things I noticed, especially watching the FAM game last week, was how little pressure they were able to apply on the quarterback as the game went on. Johnson had all the time in the world to find his receivers. Newton had so much time that time he couldn't decide if he wanted to run or pass or run again. And so pressure on the quarterback is imperative this afternoon for the Eagles.
So 1st and goal for Howard just inside the 5. And Newton hands it off, and they wrap up Reynoso. Flag on the play, it looks like, toward the end of that.
Howard with their little jumbo package.
And it's another penalty on this offensive line. This time it's Brandon Johnson, the left guard, sophomore from Baltimore, Maryland. A couple of tough penalties for Howard early on in this game.
But it hasn't seemed to bother them so far in their offense. They've had the penalties, they pushed back, and yet they're somehow able to find a way to get the first down. And if you're Central, you've got to get them off the field. You've got to break now. Can you make something happen? North Carolina Central has been a solid defensive team in the red zone this year.
So they'll replay 1st down. This time, though, it's all the way back at the 14. Newton, looking for his options, runs out of time and rolls out to his left. and heads out of bounds just inside the 15 for very little gain.
But still too much time. As Newton was trying to get out of bounds, Darrell Smith gave him a little love tap, just let him know he was there. Said, look, I'm going to be after you all day long.
And that's the attitude you've got to have if you're this NCCU defensive front. So second down on the way.
Well, Coach Eastman talked about this week that was trying to make things a little simpler. He understood the offense here at Howard was powerful, called him a juggernaut, but he tried to make things a little easier for his guys to just play football. That's a good play there.
Good job pressuring the quarterback that time. He didn't quite have enough time to make the decision, even though the receiver was open. Good job to get in
Darrell
his head.
Smith did a really good job of putting pressure on the quarterback and getting his hands up and deflecting the pass. Keep in mind that Newton, we talk so much about it. You don't want to try to keep talking about his brother. But his brother goes about 6'5", 6'6". Newton goes only about 6 feet tall and about 195 pounds. So that size difference there played a big role in that deflection of the pass.
So it's third down and goal from the 14-yard line for the Bison. Eagles trying to keep him out of the end zone. Newton fires it to Ezzard, and Ezzard is wrapped up at the 5. They will be short of the goal line. Good open field tackle from North Carolina Central.
Short of the goal, but got the first down. Or just a little short here. Yep.
Yeah, it was after the penalty, the holding penalty pushed him back. And they'll send out the field goal unit here with Faraji Joseph. One of a couple of kickers in the stable for Howard, but he'll be taking the lion's share of duties today as expected. So a short field goal try, looks like 22. And Joseph puts it through the uprights for the first 3 points of this afternoon's football game. So Howard with a scoring drive of 75 yards to take a 3-0 lead. Capped off by that 22-yard field goal from Joseph. Info on that scoring drive sponsored by North Carolina Eye, Ear, Nose, and Throat. You can visit them online at nceent.com. We'll take a quick break. It's 3-0 Howard here in Durham. This is North Carolina Central and MEAC Football here on ESPN3 and the NCCU Sports Network. Plenty of time. Has it. He's into Bison territory.
Found the streaking Xavier McCoy inside the zone between those linebackers and the defensive backs on a nice route. Picks up about 26 yards and a first down. Very nice throws. Got to give Caldwell some confidence.
Let's see what he does with it. First down and 10. First play inside Bison territory. Fakes the handoff to Totten and runs it up the middle himself, muscling his way through. Look at the strength on the sophomore QB. Did he get enough for the first down? Not sure if it's quite there, but an impressive run either way.
He takes it out.
Really impressed with this drive so far for Caldwell. The sophomore from right here in Durham, North Carolina. But you know what he's done? He made a nice throw under a little duress, 25 yards. He had a run on his first possession, picked up about 10 yards, and that time he ran, picks up another 10, and refused to go down. He looks like he's in some type of offensive rhythm. That's a good sign for the Eagles today.
So Caldwell clapping his hands in his cadence. He's ready to go. And fires one over the middle to Martin. Martin brought down just inside the 30. They'll spot it right at the 30-yard line. He came. Martin brings that in.
It's a little two-way option, and you saw Martin just get in between again. Go down about 7 8 yards and find an open spot in the zone.
Second and 2.
And alertly Caldwell found him. Nice little pass, and you make second down very manageable now.
A lot of options here on second and short. One of the favorite scenarios for an offensive coordinator. They hand it off to Totten, who runs right side and muscles his way through, gets the first down and 3 yards more. And the Eagles are inside the Bison 25, trying to come back from this 3-0 deficit.
And you like the deciding factors of that offensive line that time. Offensive line gets off the football. You fake the jet sweep, nice little inside counter handoff, and Totten picks up enough for the first down. And you really like to see him, if you're a Titan fan, get off to a good football game. He's been slowed a little bit this year. Only 185 yards rushing so far. Had a great freshman year, and Eagle fans would love to see that happen again.
Caldwell over the middle, pass incomplete. Stevens wanted a flag, but he's not going to get it. Deshaun Stevens, the intended target, that NC State transfer.
Incomplete.
Good coverage that time. Again, they were looking over the middle, nothing there. Augustine does a great job of getting his hand on the football and putting some pressure that time on Stevens.
So a second and long coming up for North Carolina Central. Caldwell on a draw play, running inside the 20. He's inside the 10, gets inside the 5, and is brought down just at the 5-yard line. Chauncey Caldwell is feeling it early on.
He takes it down to the 6-yard line for another Eagle first down.
So they'll spot this at the 6 for North Carolina Central.
It's official. Eagles are in the red zone.
Caldwell taking a page out of the Newton playbook that time, spreading the defense, finding an open area, and confidently running and getting a first and goal for North Carolina Central.
Big plays coming up. Central trying to take the lead early. It's Totten through the middle, muscling for the goal line. Does he have enough? He's there. Touchdown, Eagles. Now, Stan, I know Eagles fans, they know from last week that a great opening drive doesn't necessarily mean you're in for a great football game, but it sure helps.
Well, I'll tell you what, a great job by the offensive line that time for North Carolina Central. We talked earlier in the broadcast about the size of the line for the Howard Bison. Well, this Eagle NCCU line is also kind of big. They were about 300 pounds themselves. They got off the ball. Totten got inside his guys, cuts it for the touchdown. And yeah, last week, this same time, 7-0 on the first drive, 48 points down, NCCU was behind. They don't want that to happen again, but that was a very impressive drive led by Chauncey Caldwell.
Adam Lippy adds the extra point. It is 7-3 North Carolina Central here with 5:22 to go in the first quarter. This is MEAC Football on ESPN3 and the NCCU Sports Network.
Shred hate.
MLB, ESPN, and X Games are teaming up to shred hate. Learn more at shredhate.org.
This December 15th.
Welcome back to Durham, North Carolina. MEAC Football here on ESPN3 and the NCCU Sports Network. First drive for the North Carolina Central offense, a successful one. 9 plays, 91 yards, 3:38 off the clock, and they get a score at the end to take a 7-3 advantage. So Howard takes this out and perhaps and they send that through as Jermichael Jones is tackled inside the 20.
And that was an important drive for the psyche of this North Carolina Central team. As we said, they got off to a great start last week, gave up a lot of points, really embarrassed at home. But the score, and also for the offensive line's sake, only the 5th rushing touchdown this season for North Carolina Central. And when you think of NCCU, think of wide open offense, being able to run the ball is a staple for them. That's got to give them some confidence this afternoon.
Info on the scoring drive brought to you by North Carolina Eye, Ear, Nose, and Throat at NCENT.com. Newton gets right back to work looking for Ezzard, and the throw just a bit too much zizzle on the throw. Good coverage from the Eagles defense.
Again,
Mario Evans on.
Stretching the defense to its limits. Mario Evans is going to have to play discipline, get inside leverage. He did that time. That throw just a little bit off, but you're going to see this all afternoon. The strength of Kalen Newton's arm. The outstanding wide receivers, the number 1 and number 2 receivers in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. How will they match up against the defensive backs of North Carolina Central?
This time it's a screen pass, and it's good enough to get the first down. It's like Ali on that. So Howard mixing up, Jordan Ailey, as they mix up the plays again. Those different formations so difficult to keep track of as a defense.
Yeah, think about how it is as a defensive coordinator or guys. If you're having trouble when you finding players, they hide guys. Ailey goes about 5'8". He's out in the backfield sometimes, and sometimes they'll use him out as a decoy.
So this time they run the football, and it's going to be a big gain of about 5 for the Howard Bison. Khalid Dorsey getting another carry here, the true freshman from York, Pennsylvania.
Josiah Crute, the freshman that they're really high on, not playing this afternoon. So expect to see Dorsey, Parson, maybe Amir Lewis, and we've already seen Reynoso at once or twice to carry the load. But Newton is their primarily runner for this team.
Another handoff, another one to Dorsey. Again, it's up the right side, and this time the Eagles defense knows what to do.
Dorsey.
As Dorsey's brought down.
Tackle for a loss.
Great job of containment, not getting outside, giving up the outside leverage at time. Darius Royster, one of those outstanding defensive players, along with Quan Cox, are going to be tested this afternoon.
So a 3rd down and 7 to go here for the Howard Bison. They are a really strong team at 3rd down, 2nd in the MEAC, converting about 41% of their tries, but the way their offense runs, they get a lot of 3rd and short. That was a key that Granville Eastman was talking about before this game, forcing them to have 3rd and long situations, and timeout called by the Eagles defense.
Timeout. North Carolina Central. First charge, timeout.
And we will step aside with them. Our score here in Durham, 7-3 North Carolina Central. Big 3rd down on the way for the Howard Bison offense. Coming up, this is North Carolina Central and MEAC Football on the NCCU Sports Network and ESPN3. This entire game, if it turns out the way we think it's going to.
Well, one of the problems now in a 3rd and long situation, you think it's going to be pass, so your backs drop back a little further, and what that does is it allows Newton to kind of scan the defense and maybe find an open to run the football.
So let's see what Kalen Newton does. He throws it over the middle. Anthony has plenty of space. He's into Eagle territory. Flag on the play in the backfield. 2 flags are down. And let's see where this goes.
Flags on the field.
Personal foul. Rough the passer.
And it is a roughing the passer on North Carolina Central.
Automatic first down.
So 15 yards and the first down as well going to be tacked onto this. And now it's a big gainer for the visiting side.
And again, Kalen Newton takes his time, finds the open receiver, giving him an opportunity to break open in the crossing route, and then the late hit after the play, adding to it. One of the things you cannot do against a team like Howard is give them extra opportunities.
So inside the NCCU 30, and Newton has all kinds of time for the moment. Here comes the pressure, And a good strike to find his tight end, Justin Chaney. Another flag is down on the play. One back by the sideline and one in the trenches there.
I think he might be an ineligible receiver downfield because of the way James Holloman, the center, number 73, they threw it right in front of him, and the way he was looking, like, yeah, they may have gotten me.
And that's exactly what it is.
73, 5-yard penalty, first down.
So a 5-yard penalty, and the Bison are looking at 1st and 15.
But again, you can see the difference in the Howard offense when Kalen Newton's under pressure, as opposed to when he's able to sit back and read the defense and make throws. Good job that time by North Carolina Central of putting pressure on him, getting him outside the pocket.
Low snap. Newton handles it well and fires a wobbly pass to Jaquez Ezzard. He brings it in and falls out of bounds with a couple yards to go before they can move the sticks.
To Ezzard.
Jaquez Ezzard, last season, one of the leading receivers not only in the country but definitely in the MEAC. This year, not falling off. 8 catches a week ago against Bethune-Cookman for 149 yards. Had a huge game at the beginning of the season. 233 yards catching and a touchdown against Ohio.
So Newton this time hands it off. A big hit from Reynolds, but the ball carrier keeps on rumbling. Dedrick Parson got a big hit from the safety and did just get enough to move the chains. That's a great second effort to bring up the first down, but an injured Eagle down on the field.
That's enough for first down, Howard.
I believe that is number 52, Carl Isaac, for the Eagles. It is going to be a first down coming up for Howard. And a few members of the NCCU athletic training staff out there.
It's easy little out route. You couldn't tell. I think that was away from the play where the Eagle player goes down. Can't quite see the number yet.
I think is that 52?
I think it's Carl.
Yeah, 52
Carl
Isaac.
The redshirt freshman.
And good to see him heading off under his own power. Redshirt freshman from Rockingham, North Carolina.
Richmond County Raiders. That's a powerful football program down in southeastern North Carolina. So hopefully he'll be back out there. But again, situation, first down, and the Howard offense showing you different looks this time. 2 backs in the backfield, but 2 wide receivers, and they're motioning.
They need to get to the 9 to move the chains. Newton ducks some pressure and hustles inside the 15. Newton making something out of nothing there, gets to the 14-yard line.
Carrier.
One of the notes that I made in looking at some tape this week at North Carolina Central is you have to be a sure tackler. And that goes with the wide receivers and especially with Newton, as we mentioned. 6 feet, 205 pounds, but he's solid. And that time took a blow, didn't go down, was able to get almost enough for the first down.
They keep it on the ground. Looks like that was Dorsey again, if my eyes do not deceive me. They're short of the sticks, but it's a 3rd and very short coming up. Was Dorsey that got that. Iggy Reynoso is also back there in the backfield. They like this pistol formation, Howard. And this time they hand it off to Reynoso, who is met at the line of scrimmage, and I'm not sure he got enough. It'll be a 4th down and 1.
Reynoso the ball carrier.
Nice job holding inside. Khalid Blunt, the 6'1 sophomore defensive lineman, does a great job of holding position, breaking up in between the gap, and getting a stop. Here's a big 4th down play.
Going for it on for the 14th time this year. Howard 3 of 13 on 4th down this season. And Newton looked like a botched handoff, and he is gobbled up. Flag on the play late.
Flags on the field.
Ooh, and big celebrations coming up from the Eagles, but this flag is going to be a huge call here.
And I'm afraid it's going to be possibly a face mask with the way NCCU guys are jumping. I think that's going to be on Howard.
No, but they've picked up the flag, and now have thrown another. No? And they've called a taunting on Central after the play.
Half the distance to the goal. First down.
So they picked up the flag in the run of play and then called a taunting penalty when they celebrated the fact that they picked up the flag.
A great job by the defensive front They ran out of the pistol. They accepted the dive and made the stop. And I was thinking it was a flag down in some way, shape, or form, but it wasn't.
There was a flag, but they.
I mean, a face mask.
They said, yeah. I don't think I've ever seen a referee pick up a flag and then immediately throw it again for another foul.
Someone said something after it was played. Nevertheless, Mike London's trying to find out exactly what went wrong there. But a good job of taking away the dive, and plenty of Eagles converged on the football. So that was stopped. But immediately as the play was going on, the flag went up. So I'm thinking it's either a face mask or maybe an offside. The officials conferred about it.
Because it was so far from the
it was away from
scrum
the
for the ball.
It was outside the numbers, and you saw the Eagle players rejoicing like they're excited. And all of a sudden, in the flock of players from Howard, the flag goes out. So they made a mistake. That's what it was. You can look and see that. Yeah, the penalty should have been on Howard.
So Central, with not so great field position, runs this one up the middle to start things off.
A lot of stuff going on.
This has been, I'll tell you what, this has been a busy first quarter, just 30 seconds left in it, but a busy first quarter for Rick Warren and his refereeing crew.
But give kudos to North Carolina Central for stopping Howard on that drive, which possibly was a touchdown drive.
So Central with a 4-point advantage is ready to go again with Caldwell back at the QB spot. Need to get to the 21. Caldwell in trouble. He's tackled in the end zone, and it's a safety. A sack for Howard puts 2 on the board for the Bison.
Caldwell.
Sevion Dinkins, Sevion Dinkins, one of about 2 different players for the Bison. They were able to get Caldwell, and it looked like a slow developing play. I like the reverse pivot by Caldwell, but he just didn't have time to execute it. Great job of the defensive front by the Bison. And we've got a 7-5 baseball game out here.
Like we're watching the postseason here in North Carolina. So talk about momentum shifting. Eagles get the stop on 4th down. They get the strange penalty that winds up turning out in their favor. And then a safety on a terrific play from Dinkins. And Howard has the football back, trailing by a couple of points, which is 5 seconds to go before the first quarter comes to a close.
And you look at bizarre plays, momentum killers. If you're North Carolina Central, you get them off the field, Howard. You don't let them score. You're excited. Now you've got a chance to get a drive, chunk up some time. Second down, you have the mistake, the safety. Now Howard gets a chance to steal some of this momentum again. And they'll get relatively good field position, you would think, off the free kick.
So Jonathan DeLuca ready to kick this away for the Eagles. And Ezzard takes it from the 15. Ezzard tripped up and brought down just beyond the 25. Good special teams play from the Eagles to stop him. And that finishes up the first quarter of play. It's not a baseball game, but here on the gridiron, it is 7-5. Unusual start to this game, but the fans here in Durham are happy with the score. Their Eagles are on top by a couple. This is MEAC Football on the NCCU Sports Network and ESPN3.
Be heard.
Welcome back to Durham, North Carolina here on ESPN3. Carter Woodeel, Stan Luter here with you, also on the NCCU Sports Network, and we get another look at the Bison offense. Howard trailing in this game by a couple, and Parson is the man that gets the first carry of this game, so the traditional running back gets involved at the start of the second quarter. Or rather, that was Dorsey, my mistake, that got the carry. He's been getting a lot of that, the true freshman in this game. We've seen a lot, though, coming into this game. We expected it, of Newton being the guy that's been their number 1 rusher for the Howard Bison.
Well, on the season, Newton has had 2 games of the 3 they played where he's rushed 20 times or more. You expect him, that's part of their offense for him to run the ball.
This time he loads a short pass and a big hit just in as they get across the 30-yard line.
Newton's pass.
Brannon was the man on the reception.
What I liked that time about Newton was he was patient. He wanted to look downfield, kept looking, went to his check down receiver, picks up about 3 yards, and again another third manageable for Howard. 3 out of 5 third down conversions in the first quarter.
Newton decides to run it, and he's got enough for the first down. Muscles across the 40.
Newton on the quarterback keeper.
And the chains move.
Tendency says when pressure, cover the outside, the backside. 6 of 13 rushes today have been by Newton this afternoon. Something you've got to be consistently watching if you're NCCU on that backside.
So Newton, this time he hands it off to Iggy Reynoso, and Iggy Reynoso gets inside Eagle territory, just tripped up and falls forward inside the 40.
The ball carrier.
And the ground game working well on this drive for the Bison.
Wow, did you see the explosive Reynoso in that hole? Good job again by the offensive line, led by Shadrack 70 and Holloman number 73. He goes right inside that A-gap and blows that up. That's a big-time play by Reynoso, the freshman.
So 1st and 10. Newton looking to pass, finds Ezer, makes the catch inside the 10. He's inside the 5. He is there, and a touchdown for the Howard Bison. Boy, what a drive to start the second quarter.
Complete to Ezer.
Ezer brings it in.
For a Howard touchdown.
His 3rd touchdown of the season.
That was a big-time throw and a big-time catch and run by Ezer. Now, we talked about one of the leading wide receivers in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, and you saw why this is an offense that can put points up in a hurry. A nice pass over the zone defender, a great catch, and then an extra super run by Ezer gets the touchdown for the Bison.
So saw the swinging gate for a moment, but they are going to try for the extra points. And they put it through. So the 40-yard connection to Ezer. And the extra point makes it 12-7 Howard. And the Bison have their first lead since it was 3-0 early on in this game. Hadn't seen a whole lot of Ezer before that big catch, but he puts together a 40-yard score. And NCCU gets the football back, trailing by a few points. This is North Carolina Central and MEAC Football on ESPN3 and the NCCU Sports Network. Reeling in a 40-yard touchdown reception. That drive info sponsored by North Carolina Eye, Ear, Nose, and Throat. You can visit them online at ncent.com.
And just when you thought the Howard offense was having some trouble, the 6th time they've scored a touchdown this year in 2 minutes or less, and can the Eagles bounce back?
And the Eagles take this out. Ooh, a big hit on special teams, gets him down just inside the 25-yard line. Chance Kennedy, the man taking that out for the Eagles.
Jason Robinson came from the outside position and found Kennedy and laid the leather to him. And I guess there's been an emphasis by Coach London and his staff the last couple of days on the kickoff return unit. So North Carolina Central gets an opportunity to start again. And again, I like what they were doing on their drives. And Charleston Caldwell just needs to be patient. I think some things are going to open up for him. 3 wide receivers to the top.
Well, let's see what he's got here. Caldwell all alone in the backfield to start this play. Flag is down, might be a hold, but Caldwell runs it up and gets first down yardage, but we'll see if this is going to be coming back.
The quarterback keeper. Flags on the
I
field.
think they're going to get Nick Leverett, the outstanding left tackle.
There's no foul on the play for holding.
Well, they take that back.
How about that?
I like an official that's willing to understand his mistakes and say, okay, no foul, my bad. Pick it up and let's keep playing.
Well, that's part of the dynamic when you're on there with so many other guys on that refereeing crew. Sometimes you disagree. I think Nick Leverett, that's one of the few times you'll see someone be really unhappy with the call and then actually get something out of it.
Nick, and he was saying, I didn't hold.
That's not a hold.
My hands were inside.
So the Eagles get a first down on the play and go to the ground to start off the next series. As it's Taunton that gets the carry.
I think one thing you've got to do if you're North Carolina Central, you need to score, obviously, but to have a sustained drive. Howard had the ball in the first quarter, 7 minutes and almost 40 seconds, other 15 minutes. They need to keep their defense off the field, that of NCCU. And
it's Taunton again, this time on a reception. Didn't quite get to the first down marker. And 3rd and short on the way. Brian Cook in the area for the Howard Bison, the cornerback.
Brian Cook, an all MEAC performer a season ago, has been one of the defensive leaders on this team Already sixth best tackler in the conference.
So 3rd and a couple for North Carolina Central. They bring Sherman McLeod, the tight end, in. Slotted into the right of Caldwell. And now Totten in motion. But it's Caldwell who takes it, has a first down, has more, and gets up close to the midfield marker. That'll move the chains.
Nice job of patience by Caldwell. Makes the read, fake, keeps the ball inside, puts his foot in the dirt, makes a strong move upfield. Nice block by Cortisha Glenn, number 77. Kind of held that block long enough for him to get outside edge.
5 wide out set here for Caldwell. All load in the backfield, trying to move into Bison territory. And Caldwell, and now they're running with it, is NC Central. And that's going to be good enough for a first down inside the 40 and into Bison territory.
Love the call by T.C. Taylor, the offensive coordinator. You show everybody deep and you have a little shallow route with the wide receiver. A good catch by Martin. And gets another first down, and you see some life in the offense for North Carolina Central. Last week when they gave up the couple of big scores against FAM, there wasn't any fighting. And I'll tell you something else I'm noticing about Central. They're playing a lot quicker today. Their footwork, I'm saying, they're playing faster.
Seems like they've got the energy that sometimes comes with a football team after a big loss. So Caldwell with another pass toward his right side, and wrapped up pretty quickly is the target, Tyquan Watson. So Watson wrapped up, and it's a gain of a couple.
Tyquan Watson trying to get to the outside. Again, looking, check down, finding the receiver, and a nice solid tackle. We've called his name a couple of times today, but Brian Cook with a great tackle. I had 8 tackles a couple of weeks ago in their game against Bethune-Cookman, and also in their early game loss against Kent. A solid open field tackler, Cox.
So Caldwell, pocket collapses, fires a pass over, and it's reeled in for a score. Deshaun Stevens brings it in, and Central's back on top.
Into the end zone for an Eagle touchdown!
So the Eagles put the points on the board. There is an injured Eagle way back out at the 40-yard line. But NC Central, perhaps not too long of a sustained drive with the big play at the end of it, but they, with a great counterpunch after that drive that started off the quarter from Howard.
That was a great catch and good concentration by Stevens. Plenty of time to throw the ball. And again, I can't continue to say it, but Caldwell showing me a lot today. Being patient in the pocket, not trying to force anything. Found his receiver on the deep post, and the good concentration by Stevens with a defender bearing down on him to try to make the interception. Took it away from him, gets the touchdown, and the Eagles are back on top.
Deshaun Stevens' second touchdown of the year. And the injured player for North Carolina Central is the left guard Andrew Dale, redshirt sophomore from Morehead City, North Carolina. They're still tending to him way back out at the 40. And he is limping off the field before this PAT try.
Hopefully he'll be okay, but it's always a good sign to see a young man walk off the field under their own power. A little bit of assistance, but very impressive drive if you're a North Carolina Central fan. You gotta like what you're seeing out of there. There's some fight in these Eagles today.
Trying to go up 2 points here with the extra point from Adam Lippy, redshirt freshman from Tucker, Georgia.
Lippy to attempt the extra point.
To make it 14-12. And he's got it. So it's a 2-point advantage for North Carolina Central once again. This is North Carolina Central and MEAC Football on the NCCU Sports Network and ESPN3. Off the clock. Capped off by a 35-yard touchdown reception from Stevens, and Howard looking to respond, and a good special teams play. That looked like Aaron Duncan standing tall for North Carolina Central.
It was Aaron Duncan standing tall. Wow, what a hit by Duncan.
So Duncan brings it down. You could tell he was feeling it heading back to the sideline with his teammates. So North Carolina Central in this game with a 14-12 advantage. Howard struck first in this contest, take a 3-0 lead on a field goal. Then Central took a 7-3 lead, 7-5 after a safety. This has been a back-and-forth affair thus far. So Newton back under center, and he completes it to Anthony inside the 35, and Anthony does just go down. Reynolds looked like he was the one that got to him. And Anthony does get a first down for the visitors.
Anthony does a nice little out route, gets to the sticks, gets the first down. And again, a nice little rhythm pass by Kalen Newton.
This time Newton hands it off, and not a lot there for Dorsey, who gets maybe a yard. Does the freshman early on.
Randy Anayu inside that line. We talked about Blunt a minute ago on that drive, but that front four of Anayu, Blunt, Royster, and Cox have got to find ways to put pressure on Newton, make him uncomfortable. You also kind of control that line of scrimmage. The team that controls the line of scrimmage today is going to win this game.
He finds Anthony again, and Anthony is shoved out of bounds with a first down. So another good connection to Anthony, and we haven't seen a ton of Ezzard, but Anthony has certainly pulled his weight. Looked like DeMario Evans was there on the stop for North Carolina Central.
Anthony came into the season with 19 receptions, Ezzard with 16. Those guys combined for 35 of the 60 receptions this year for the Howard Bison. So you can expect a lot of those guys, whoever's a hot receiver.
Newton going deep, looking for Ezzard. He is in space, and Ezzard has reservations for 6. Touchdown, Howard, and the Bison are right back on top in this football game.
Like we said, Anthony, Ezzard, Anthony, doesn't really matter. But again, no pressure on the quarterback of Newton. He's able to stand there, survey the field, and again, you're matched up a lot of times one-on-one, and that's what happened there. A nice deep post route for Ezzard, and touchdown, Howard.
And Newton takes the snap on the swinging gate, flags fly, and it's a false start against Howard. So trying out some trickeration, but doesn't go as planned. You know, you hear the word when you're talking about a young quarterback. You hear the word poise get thrown around a lot. But I think it's something that applies to Newton.
He's stronger. He understands the concept of the game. He had a great season last year, threw for almost 2,500 yards and 13 touchdowns. But this year, he's just taking it to another level.
The point after from Joseph is through the uprights, so Howard is back on top by a 5-point margin here in this second quarter.
19-14. Howard on top.
Kalen Newton is as good as advertised, but you can be a really solid quarterback if you've got arm strength, if you've got protection, and if you've got good wide receivers. And so far in this football game, and for most of this season, Newton's had all three of those.
What specific adjustments needs to happen right now for North Carolina Central? Is it just as simple as it sounds, get to him, pressure him a little more? That's one of those easier said than done deals,
yeah,
right?
I think you're going to have to maybe send an extra man. But what happens also is when you do that, you're leaving a weak side, some weak element. Either if you blitz somebody, what's going to be on that open cut side? The defensive backs are going to be tested this afternoon. And this is the bottom line with this is it's about execution. It's going to be man on man, and I've got to stop you. And if I don't stop you, you're going to score all afternoon.
Newton has 205 yards through the air and 39 gained on the ground in this football game. So Central back to playing from behind, and Kennedy takes it out and doesn't get much further than the 20. A flag goes in, might be a late hit.
Flags on the field.
That's Dimitri McCray-Buggs, who was celebrating for Howard and then did a double take after he saw the marker. And it's a targeting call.
First down by rule. Number 25 is disqualified.
And that is it for Dimitri McCray-Buggs. So they rule that he led with his helmet, made a late hit on Kennedy as he was bringing in the kick. They call the targeting, and his football game is over. And the rule with targeting is any forcible hit with the crown of the helmet, and we're all the way up here. And of course, no video review in this football game, like you'll see it at some of the bigger levels.
What Mike London, head coach Mike London, is concerned about. There's like, he made the call, he's ejected, and I'm not getting maybe a second look at that to argue that point.
Because at the top levels of football, you have to look at that. Every time they throw a flag and use the targeting rule, you're going to the replay.
Because you don't have it in a lot of cases, to be maybe a little more lenient in some cases and make sure they follow all the protocol. The officials were pretty sure about that, so that's a big break for North Carolina Central. And a big-time hit by Bugs that goes awry.
So the pass attempt from Caldwell incomplete for Stevens. 2nd down and 10 on the way for Central. And both sides will move on and regroup. Caldwell with 88 passing yards, 6 out of 9 thus far. And he hands it off. Totten runs it up the guts and uses his strength to get maybe an extra yard after contact.
We talked about it earlier with Totten on the touchdown run, but outstanding freshman year for Isaiah Totten. Ran for, like I said, over 700 yards. Was one of the leading rushers in the MEAC, number 2. Had a huge run against Duke last year in the early season debut with 81 yards for a touchdown. This guy's got a great upside, but the defenses have kind of keyed on him, and because of some of the inconsistency in the quarterback play so far this year, however, Caldwell's playing really solid today, they've kind of kept him contained so far this year.
So Caldwell running gets a block from Totten as he muscles up toward midfield, and that looks to be enough to move the chains on the keeper to Caldwell.
Couldn't tell if that was a broken play or what, but you like the idea that your leading running back can get out there and be the lead blocker for your quarterback. A nice block frees up Caldwell just enough to get the North Carolina Central 1st down.
Looks like Aaron Walker on the stop for the Bison. And 3 wide receivers to the short side of the field for Caldwell, who's nodding his head. Both quarterbacks, I think, in this game are feeling pretty comfortable right now with where their offenses are at. And Caldwell makes the play. Good connection to Nike Martin, and Martin is inside the 25, just short of the 20. He thought he might have had pay dirt on the way, but he has a terrific reception. And all of a sudden, North Carolina Central is knocking at the door of the red zone here, and they want to move quickly.
Perfect strike that time by Caldwell to Martin.
And they move quickly, trying to catch this defense off guard. They hand it off, and Totten doesn't get a ton.
But you go back to the play a moment ago. You go 3 wides, and they fake to the outside receivers, kind of looking at the receiver screen, and that's able to send that inside guy of the 2 right down the seam. And it's got to be a perfectly timed play. It's got to be a nice pass right on the money. And all those things happen. Martin with the great catch puts North Carolina Central in prime scoring position, but a great execution by the offense.
And now it's important to take advantage of this, trailing by 5. Early in this game, but these drives seem pretty important to try and hold serve almost. Caldwell with an open pass finds E.J. Hicks, and E.J. Hicks is in, and North Carolina Central responds. A touchdown.
What a great game the offensive staff of North Carolina Central are calling. They go motion, back motion again, and that influence takes Howard away from the ball, so you've got less players on one side of the field, and you find the open seam, and yet another touchdown pass by Chauncey Caldwell.
So back and forth we go, and North Carolina Central has a chance to make it a 2-point lead once again with an extra point. E.J. Hicks' 2nd touchdown reception of the season, the sophomore from Rollsville, North Carolina. And Adam Lippy's PAT is true.
Extra point is good.
So North Carolina Central hanging on to a 21-19 lead. Still 6 minutes left before halftime. This has been a back-and-forth offensive game, a fun game to watch here early on in Durham.
I like the execution again of that offensive play. They have the 3 wide.
Eye, ear, nose, and throat. Visit them online at nceent.com. So Ailey's taking this out, it looks like, for the Howard Bison, and he is not going anywhere. Looked like Matt Stevens was on the special teams tackle for North Carolina Central, and it's not going to be good field position for the Bison.
You make a big play on defense earlier. You come back now, your offense is is in some type of groove. You're scoring there. You make another big play, and everybody on the sideline now is jumping and they're excited. Such a difference in a week. But you see the energy now. North Carolina Central playing the way they played the last few years. 3 out of 4 years winning the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference or sharing at least a part of the championship. They want to get back to the Celebration Bowl, and they're doing it if they can do it like this with the defense. They're in good business.
Yeah, nobody wants to start 0-2 if you've got aspirations. Some trickeration from Howard, and where's he headed? North Carolina Central brings him down. Well, that's what the go-go offense can throw at you. Jaquez Ezzard on a reversed back himself, and it winds up with an exciting, unusual, but there is going to be a penalty on the play here. So a 5-yard penalty charged, and so it's all going to come for naught. It's a penalty on the Eagles' defense for 5 yards.
The ball is placed just north of the 15-yard line. 1st and 5.
So it's 1st down and 5.
Big break for Howard that time.
And the handoff, and there he goes. Dorsey is free inside the 30. Or rather, that's Parson who got the handoff.
Wow, just again, great job of the offensive line. We talked about it, but Young and Johnson, Holman, the all-conference guys, Shadrack and Fleming. Big hole that time for Parson to pick up the 1st down.
And they got all the big boys on the field here as they give it back to Parson, but this time he doesn't get much, maybe a yard on the play. Still plenty of time left before the half. But Howard, you get the feeling, wants to punch right back in this offensive battle early on.
Howard's got plenty of time and 3 timeouts remaining, so what you want to do is just continue to execute. But they're a big play team. They're a big play offense, explosion plays.
So here's Newton. He has time and finds Anthony. He's there for the 1st down and muscles across midfield before being brought down inside of Eagle territory.
Pass complete to Anthony.
As Anthony Sherrill, the man who stopped him. So Anthony tackles Anthony inside the 50.
And Newton once again looks off the defender in the middle of the field and is able to come back to his left side across the field. And a great catch by Anthony. And then again, what you love to have is yards after catch.
Newton has it and nearly has it as it batted away. Good reaction there from Devontae Reynolds.
Haven't talked a lot about Devontae Reynolds today. As we mentioned earlier in the ballgame, another preseason All-American, preseason possible MEAC Defensive Player of the Year. Plays more of a will linebacker spot, a weak side safety. It's going to be there and make plays. And that time nearly had the interception by Newton.
One of those guys where it's hard to put a position on him. He does so many different things on the defense. And here comes Newton, facing some pressure, and Newton did get a couple yards on the play, but good job by the defense that time getting to the quarterback, making him scramble a little bit. And Royster was down for a moment after the play, slow to get up. He'll head to the sideline. But Royster is heading back. Took him a second.
This is that point in the ball game and on the field, 3rd down 7. And Howard's had a lot of success either running the ball or either the intermediate routes. 2 wide receivers to both sides. Central's got to play solid on defense. There's
somebody jumped offside or false start. We'll see what it is. It looks like a free play for Howard, and Parson can't get enough for the 1st down. So if this is an offsides, then they will take the penalty here.
They're going to pick up
number 99, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Maybe 1 yard on this play because it looks like they're about 3.5 yards short of the 1st down off that play, so they'll take that penalty and make this a 3rd down and a manageable 2.
That's one that's got to be fun if you're the quarterback. You got a free play. You can do what you need when you see that flag fly. But now it's 3rd and 2.
Chuck Manning a little too excited that time to get to the quarterback.
Newton takes it himself and dives forward. Does he have enough for the 1st? It looks like he does. They're moving the chains.
Had to get the nose of the ball past the 35-yard line. It's resting right there.
He advances the ball
again,
to
Newton
the
with the RPO.
Will it be 1st and 10?
Pulls it into the belly to get to the mesh point that time with Dorsey. Pulls it out. be able to get upfield, pick up 3 yards, get this drive going.
So 3 wideouts to the left side. Newton doesn't have a lot of options, so takes matters into his own hands and throws it away. Good coverage by the Eagles secondary. And a flag flies after the play on the sideline.
I was looking for a receiver, and I saw a receiver down the field, but he threw the ball 10 yards in the stands behind him. I'm not surprised. They may call this as an intentional grounding.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct. Defense.
Oh, wow.
Wow, it's an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on Central.
When Newton makes the throw, he gets lost in the bench
First of the game.
of the Howard team. So we'll have to find out and maybe take another look and see what Kawan Cox did on that play.
Another dead ball penalty. Pushes it all the way up to the 20. With 2.5 and change before halftime. Newton rolling to his right and is stopped. Looks like King Kiyaku was the linebacker that got to him.
Newton on the quarterback keeper.
Had an incomplete pass, and you just can't continue to make those type of mistakes and extending drives if you're North Carolina Central.
No gain.
And I think that maybe that call was that maybe he pushed Newton into the sideline. Anyway, the drive continues.
Newton over the middle to his tight end, and it's in and out of the hands of his tight end, Justin Chaney. Perhaps threw it a little behind him, but certainly a catchable football.
That's a ball that Chaney should have caught, and he'll think about this all the way back up to Washington, D.C. Tight end going over the top. Middle was wide open, no one in there. And this ball may have been a little high, but Chaney's a big kid. I mean, he's 6'4", about 240 pounds, and has caught some passes over the season. And that one goes between his hands. That's one he'd love to get back.
So a big play coming up, 3rd down and 10. Newton facing pressure, just escapes it and runs himself, but it won't be good enough to move the chains. Brings it to 4th down and 4 or 5.
Smart play by Newton that time. Under pressure, doesn't want to take the sack and kick him out of field goal range. He doesn't want to throw one up, force it, gets what you can. But he takes a lot of hits, doesn't he?
He has this whole game.
He takes a lot of hits.
And he pops right back up. So the field goal unit is on. It's Faraji Joseph again.
Back to attempt the field goal.
Field goal looking like 32 yards. And timeout called by Central, maybe making him think about it a little bit here.
Second charge, timeout.
Joseph's only made one field goal this season. That was a 26-yarder first game of the year against Ohio. So we'll see how his nerves are with a minute 45 left to play.
And this would give the Bison the lead, of course, trailing by 2.
Trained doctors and staff provide outstanding care, specializing in complete eye care, including LASIK and cataract surgery. ENT car,
so with a minute 45 to go in the first half of football, they're making the kicker think about it just a little bit more.
Watching him in warm-ups, looked like he was comfortable till about maybe 40 yards.
Emphasizing positive aspects.
This was going to be 34, 33, 34 yards, so.
So they're lined back up for the lead. And it's no good, wide left. So North Carolina Central is still on top. They get the stop on 3rd down and long, and the field goal is no good. And the Eagles are excited. They've got the lead and the football. So North Carolina Central, with 2 timeouts in their pocket and 99 seconds on the clock, will get the ball at their own 20. And what does Caldwell have up his sleeve here?
I think if you're North Carolina Central, you continue to try to score points. Don't go into this. Don't be patient with the lead of 2. but don't do anything crazy to give Howard one more opportunity to get the ball. If you're Howard, you're trying to make the big play right now, get it back and score.
Totten rushing to his left side, has some space and is brought down inside the 35-yard line. Great tackle from Jason Robinson, just hanging on and bringing down the strong ball carrier.
But the strength of Totten to get to the line of scrimmage, explode, take a couple of hits, and then able to power his way for 3 or 4 more extra yards with defenders holding on to him.
Caldwell through the air this time, complete to Stevens, and he did just step out of bounds at the 42, but a couple of quick strikes, just what you need in your 2-minute offense.
Love what they're doing at North Carolina Central right now with Caldwell and Stevens in great rhythm. The deep out route. Again, I'm impressed with the accuracy this afternoon of Chauncey Caldwell to his wide receivers.
And Howard wants to take a breather. They call timeout. And North Carolina Central faithful have a chance to cheer on those first couple of plays of this drive. So Howard and Vince Brown, their defensive coordinator, trying to take stock in those first couple of plays, because this is a huge series coming up for North Carolina Central. These next few plays to decide how you're feeling when you head into the locker room.
Yeah, and you go in, at least with the lead, and you get the ball back to begin the second half. So an opportunity to maybe extend this lead, go in with some momentum and come out in the second half and be fired up again. But I can't talk enough about the wide receiver execution this afternoon, and especially the quarterback, Chauncey Caldwell.
Deshaun Stevens with 56 yards receiving to lead North Carolina Central, including that 21-yard strike on the previous play.
They've had a lot of success with the 3 wide receiver set coming back to the opposite side. McCoy locked in man-to-man at the bottom of your screen, number 5.
Caldwell was looking for McCoy, but he throws it away. And Central will try it again with 1:12 left on the clock.
Smart play that time by Caldwell. You try to extend the play as long as you can. Nothing there. The receiver in the area, just throw it away. Live to fight another day. If you're thinking about it, Lippy's longest this year was 2 out of 2 from field goal range, but his longest was about 36, 37 yards early in the season against St. Augustine. So they're going to get they need to get about 15, maybe 20 more yards for him to be comfortable.
And Caldwell finds his running back Totten. Another good tackle from the secondary from Howard.
We talked about all the different formations, how they've tried to hide backs out of the backfield and send them. North Carolina Central's done an excellent job trying to get the ball in Totten's hands in open space. That time a little crossing route over the field. Nice catch and a better run.
Inside of 50 seconds to go before half. Can't take a sack here if you're Caldwell. He runs it up on a keeper. He has enough for the first down. And Central will spend a timeout here, it looks like.
Keeper. He takes it out to the 29-yard line.
Oh, the clock will stop to move the chains.
Exactly. And I don't think you want to call that timeout right now if you're NCCU. You're inside the 30. Plenty of time to have a couple of opportunities to score.
So this time it's 4 wide receivers for Caldwell. And he finds Xavier McCoy, who is hit right where he stood.
Blitz that time, pressure him, and a nice tackle. I think that was Collins.
I had John Smith the 6th on that tackle.
That's the 6th.
The 6th.
Yeah. Hair flowing down over the back of the number. You couldn't see the number well, but that is.
And with 11 seconds to go, they're asking to put some more time on there.
20 seconds. Timeout in your pocket.
So Central
sidelines. Working the sidelines.
And Central's got one more timeout to spend. If they do get inside a field goal range, call that timeout, bring out the unit. So here comes Caldwell. Finds Stevens once again, tiptoeing the sideline, just as you said it.
Good.
Stops the clock, keeps the drive moving.
So now I think it's up to Central now. Do you want to get this ball in position for the field goal? You want to try to go for 6? It gets tougher to score inside 20 yards now. More defenders there. Don't want to make a mistake, and you do not want to take a sack if you're Caldwell.
It's one of those age-old football questions, right? How aggressive to be. toward the end of the half when you know you're getting the football back.
You work the sidelines if you can, and sometimes because you work the sideline, the middle is wide open, like right now. It's too deep.
So 15 seconds to work with here. And a flag on the play as the ball snapped. It's looking like a false start against the Eagles.
Number 6. 5-yard penalty.
That really won't hurt you. But what you were able to see out of pre-snap read that time,
To 15 seconds.
you had 2 deep safeties playing on the hash mark. So the middle of the field can be open if you're North Carolina Central. But if so, you've got to be able to catch it, either try to get the touchdown or go down immediately and use that final timeout. Stay in the same formation, 2 wides with a back in the backfield.
Caldwell looking for McCoy, and McCoy can't come down with it. Did a good job to get up there, but the coverage was strong from Howard and Jason Robinson.
Caldwell's pass.
And 4th down
Incomplete.
coming up. What do you do here?
4th down.
And they're taking the offense off the field.
This is going to be right in Lippy's range. Remember, the lower the kick, the further the distance, the lower the acceleration off the ball. So let's see if Howard can get some push and get
Adam
maybe the
Lippy.
block.
So Lippy with a 40-plus yarder here. It tacks things on before halftime. The kick has the length, and it is good.
And the field goal is good.
And that's a big piece of momentum for North Carolina Central heading into the locker room.
It certainly is. And I'll tell you what, too. It was great execution. Getting the ball with a minute 45 and using the entire bit of time to get something, get on the board. And you watch this sideline right now at North Carolina Central. They're excited. They're engaged in this football game. And well, they should be.
So just 6 seconds left before half, and it's a 24-19 advantage for the NCCU Eagles. 42 yards, the official length of that field goal for Adam Lippy. So North Carolina Central with the lead. Howard does have a chance to see if they can put together a big run back here. With so little time left on the clock. And now Jonathan DeLuca will be ready to kick this away. Been a back and forth football game all day, but this is such an important game for North Carolina Central. After that tough loss last week, to come out hot in this game. They've had a ton of energy. And no big run back for Howard. Clock goes to zeros, and that finishes up the first half of football. North Carolina Central is in the lead at home, 24-19. Eagles as we go to halftime. Halftime report is coming up. This is MEAC Football on
Related to George Washington. This is my cousin George.
Discover your story. Start searching for free now at Ancestry.com.
Welcome back to North Carolina Central University football here in the MEAC, taking a look at how the full league is standing up. And if you're an NCCU fan tuning in, it's a name at the top of the standings that was on this field last week. Florida A&M are at the top of the MEAC standings at 2-0. Everybody's still getting started. Of course, Hurricane Florence kind of moved around the schedules for a lot of these teams on this standings for the MEAC, but Florida A&M rules the roost right now at 2-0. North Carolina A&T, Norfolk State, and the Howard Bison are joining them in the ranks to the undefeated. And NC Central enters this game at 0-1 in conference play. One game that's taking place right now in the MEAC as this college football Saturday unfolds. Morgan State leading South Carolina State 18-14. That game is coming down to the wire in the fourth quarter with 2:24 left. South Carolina State has the football, trying to punch in a score. Exciting finish to that one. This has been an exciting game for the Eagles. And these standings, how much are they thinking about this right now?
I'm talking the South Carolina State game. Boy, they need a win. Buddy Pugh's crowd played a solid first half last week against North Carolina A&T and weren't able to sustain it as A&T was a little ticked off from having lost to Morgan. I can't say the A word here because you get in trouble when you talk about that school as an NCCU person. But the Morgan State team is a solid football team, and that's a big game in the early season MEAC. But interesting enough, Norfolk State, keep your eye on this game. Norfolk State playing Florida A&M this afternoon. Latrell Scott's got the Spartans playing some good football right now, and we've already seen what a little mini version of the Gulf Coast offense can do from Florida A&M. So that's a game to keep your eye on. It's very interesting. And then there's some non-conference ball games that you would like to think the MEAC's going to win today. Bethune-Cookman against Mississippi Valley. But as we go into October, it's now a time, if you're a fan, to start for separation. Can't get excited about homecoming too soon. You got to worry about separation. Getting yourself in position for November and a possible trip to the Celebration Bowl.
And part of that is getting the wins when you are at home, just like North Carolina Central is. Our halftime score, NCCU 24, Howard 19 here at halftime in Durham, North Carolina. This is MEAC Football on ESPN3 and the NCCU Sports Network. Welcome back to halftime here in Durham. North Carolina Central hanging on to a 5-point advantage over Howard. It's 24-19 at half. Carter Woodeel and Stan Luter here with you from O'Kelly Riddick Stadium in Durham. So Howard with this
for more than a century,
game,
North Carolina Central University has been an institution of influence, known for its legacy of nurturing and producing graduates who are leaders of their generation.
Right now, Howard 5 out of 8, moving the sticks on third down. North Carolina Central 3 out of 4.
Founded by pharmacist, educator, and businessman Dr. James E. Shepard, today's modern university is home to more than 8,000 students from diverse backgrounds who are earning undergraduate, graduate, and professional degrees. I arrived on the sloping hills in Verdant Green of NCCU's campus, ready to realize my dream of becoming an effective educator. For others, it was to be a researcher, business executive, attorney, social scientist, or community change agent. Our world-class faculty and staff are united in their drive to see students succeed, offering hands-on opportunities in a variety of fields. Every student receives a well-rounded experience that nurtures intellectual curiosity, instills high-value workplace skills, and provides opportunities for leadership.
If you're a Howard fan, you got to like the fact you've got 334 yards of total offense. 3 times already this year they've been over the 300-yard range, but you gave up a couple of big plays at the end. So again, both teams still fighting and battling, and I think it's going to be a very interesting second half. 5-point difference is nothing with these teams.
We've seen a ton of penalty yards for both of these sides right now heading into this. They'll look to play a little cleaner in the second half. 5-point lead for North Carolina Central here at halftime.
30 feet, 20 feet, Captain!
Pull up with everything.
Brace for impact!
On
Hunter Killer. Rated R. In theaters October 26th.
Change occurs by...
Welcome back to Durham, North Carolina and O'Kelly Riddick Stadium. We are ready to go for the second half of football between the North Carolina Central Eagles and the Howard Bison here at O'Kelly Riddick Stadium in Durham. Carter Woodell and Stan Luter here with you on ESPN3 and the NCCU Sports Network here for some MEAC football. Got about a minute left before kickoff. When we were going into the locker room, when we saw the players head into the locker room, Stan, we were talking about the momentum that late field goal gave North Carolina Central. How might that show up on the field when this second half gets started?
Continued enthusiasm, continued passion to play, knowing that what the adjustments were from last week's game to this week's game are working. Now we've got to go out and continue to execute and play harder. Again, you got to give credit where credit's due. The offensive line's done a really good job at North Carolina Central. Chauncey Caldwell's come in after having not started the last couple of ball games and really been a fire plug for this football team. And for Howard, it's about doing what you do. They made a couple of mistakes. They gave away some points at the end of the ball game. But offensively, you got to like where you are if you're a Howard Bison fan. Shore up the defense. Don't make any mistakes. You can go home with the win.
And one thing that might come into play in an offensive game like this is turning the ball over, something we mentioned at the top of the broadcast about something that was going to be important for these two teams. But right now we have that turnover on downs when Howard was going for it. Haven't seen a ton, no interceptions from either quarterbacks, haven't seen a fumble here. This just feels, at least to me, like a game where that sort of play could have a big impact.
A very clean football game in respect to turnovers, especially as many passes as Howard has made, and especially NCCU with their open offense. NCCU second best in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference with a +3 in turnover margin. Howard, the 8th best team in the conference with a -2. A couple of late interceptions in the ball game a few weeks ago kind of turned that table. So handling the ball very, very important as we go in the final 30 minutes of this afternoon's game.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go, like, level up, level up. Oh, shout out to the cheerleaders right now. Woo, they're doing their thing right now. Okay. Whoa. Can I see that? Can I see that? Hey.
Hard. And Caldwell keeps it himself, has the first, and stumbles across the 40 for a sizable gain, and Caldwell's excited, signaling to move the chain.
Patience by Caldwell, lets his blocks develop, reads. If they kick inside, he bounces to the outside. If you're outside, he goes inside. Not being pressed for it, exactly what he needed for the first down, and got it.
So a first down coming up for North Carolina Central, and again, they're loading up the wide receivers. What's Caldwell got up his sleeve here? He flings it away. Good pressure there from Howard as Caldwell taps on Aaron Motley, who was the man pressuring him there.
2nd and 10.
So 2nd down and 10 on the way for the home team. Caldwell joined by Totten in the backfield to his left. And he pulls it back, looking for the left side, and McCoy reels it in and muscles his way in for the touchdown. How about that to start off the second half?
All the way to the end zone for
Caldwell recognized the pressure. He knew his receiver was in man coverage to the outside. There was a good battle. We've talked about all afternoon the battles with the wide receivers versus cornerbacks. That time you had a great one-on-one battle with them. McCoy against Smith. He wins it with a nice pass perfectly, and North Carolina Central continues to roll.
First touchdown of the year for Xavier McCoy. The point after is successful, and NCCU has their biggest lead.
Alexa,
Add bananas to my shopping list. Okay.
Welcome back to Durham. Carter Woodell, Stan Luter here with you, and the home fans are excited here in this second half of football just underway. North Carolina Central with a quick strike to begin the half, and the kick goes out, so it'll be a touchback at the 25 for the Howard Bison to begin their first drive of the second half, and all of a sudden some pressure maybe on Newton's shoulders here.
Well, it was a very impressive drive for North Carolina Central, and we'll talk about it a lot today, but Chauncey Conwell has stepped up and made plays and thrown some great passes. Good catch by McCoy for the touchdown. So now if you're Howard, this isn't a situation they're uncomfortable with. They're a quick-scoring team. They've had 5 touchdowns this year, 2 minutes or less. They've had one this afternoon. They can put points on the board, but it's a matter of execution. You're looking for one of the first times we've actually seen 2 tight ends and 2 backs in a formation.
And they'll throw out all sorts of different formations. This time they hand it off to Dorsey, and Dorsey left his feet for a moment as his forward progress was stopped a couple of yards short of the sticks. More action for Dorsey.
Dorsey had a very impressive first half of the ball game. 6 rushes for 22 yards and the touchdown. And you see what Mike London's philosophy is: keep North Carolina Central off balance. Big front line, run the football that time, give yourself some yards, picks up about 8. Now you've got some comfort in your play design.
And here comes Dorsey again, just runs it between the tackles, tries to dive for the marker. This is going to be awfully close. And they'll move the chains. It is a first down, just enough to get there.
Point of the ball needed to be at the 35-yard line since that drive started on the 25. He got exactly that for the first down.
That's right on the line. That's right where the nose of the football is. Good job to muscle forward. So first down and 10 coming up. Newton looking to throw this time and finds the tight end Chaney. And Chaney gets into Eagle territory there. Some good pressure from the Eagles, but unable to prevent the completion.
If Anthony Sherrill's arms were about an inch longer, he had an interception because Newton had to thread the needle to his receiver Chaney and found that little bit of a window, was able to get that, a very nice, strong pass and good catch. But Sherrill is like, I got this interception. No, I don't.
And now with 3 wideouts bunched up to the right side, they find Anthony in space, catches at the 30, and he's brought down. Flying in the air, gets a couple of yards after the contact.
One of the things you really like about the Howard receivers, they find open areas. You send people deep, and then you send someone down the sideline. The defensive backs aren't able to cover that long enough, and you find the wide receiver wide open. Another catch by Anthony for a first down.
And now here comes Dorsey again toward the left side. Dorsey's in space, and he's tripped up just short of the goal line. A touchdown saving tackle for North Carolina Central.
Dorsey, the ball carrier.
Watch Dorsey in the open field, being able to cut back against the grain, get up the sideline, and a shoestring tackle stops a touchdown by the Bison.
Looked like Jaquel Taylor was the man that brought him down, the senior free safety from Raleigh, North Carolina. And an Eagle slow to get up after the play. Brings out a couple of the athletic trainers. Looks like it's Randy Anyawu, the defensive tackle, who is down just right by the goal line. That shoestring tackle enough to keep Howard out of the end zone in what has been a high-flying football game thus far.
Well, they've not disappointed. You look at 334 yards of total offense in the first half for Howard and 281 yards of total offense for North Carolina Central. And these are pretty much on the numbers of these respective teams. We talked about it earlier. North Carolina Central, a team that's averaging about 315 yards total offense in the season, which is 5th best in the MEAC, and the number 1 offensive team in the Mediation Athletic Conference, the Bison of Howard University. So both teams are kind of living up to their billing, and this should be a very interesting second half.
And a flag thrown.
Offense. 5-yard penalty.
And 5 yards against the Howard offense. They'll move it back.
Illegal substitution.
Oh, I see.
I think they had 12 men in the huddle when they broke the huddle.
So that's a big penalty now, because instead of a first and goal at the 4, you're looking at first and goal at the 9.
But the way the Howard offense is going, what's 5 yards? I mean, like.
Will be first and goal.
They're getting offense in chunks.
So here's Newton. And Parson has it. He takes it through, powers through a couple defenders, and gets it right back to where the line of scrimmage was before.
Like
so there goes those 5
yards.
Good run from Parson. Broke through 3 or 4 guys as he was muscling in.
You got to be impressed with the way these backs have run for North Carolina Central as well as Howard. The second man, the third man is going to bring you down. First guy hit's not going to bring you down.
Ball is moved to the 5-yard line.
So it's about the 4.5-yard line here, second and goal. Newton looking for Jaquez Ezzard. He has it for the touchdown. Real close coverage from North Carolina Central, but it's not enough. And these wide receivers from Howard making their mark again. The Bison strike again.
Well, Newton's pass complete.
Jaquez Ezzard does a really nice job of getting separation from the defensive back. I think that was Sorrell, and he goes about, they go about the same size, about 5'9", 5'10". Just good job of getting separation, getting in the air, catching it to high point, and another touchdown for Howard.
So Howard waiting on the PAT, and it is true. So Howard holds serve. Now the question is, can they get a defensive stop on the opposite side of this break? This is MEAC Football on ESPN3 and the NCCU.
Here and stronger.
Back at O'Kelly Riddick Stadium, Carter with Eagle, Stan Luter here with you for MEAC Football on ESPN3 and the NCCU Sports Network. So where will the next strike come from? Who's going to slip up next in this offensive battle? The kickoff is wayward and winds up rolling out of bounds. So flag is thrown. The illegal procedure means pretty good field position coming up for North Carolina Central as we continue in the second half.
I keep thinking back to that pass a moment ago. You've got a good defender in Reynolds covering a wide receiver, and they're battling. And he just throws that ball in a perfect spot that only one person's going to get, and that's going to be his receiver, and Ezzard with his third touchdown catch of the afternoon. And I got a funny feeling we're going to call his name a few more times before this day goes.
Something tells me that you may be on to something there with that, with Ezzard and Anthony, these two wide receivers that have been so potent all season long for the Howard Bison. But
223 yards catching in a close loss to Ohio at the beginning of the season. That should have told you something about this young man.
So Caldwell for NCCU. Good find. Looks like Martin spills across the 40. That is Nikkei Martin, who's had a couple of nice short connections in this game. At 54 yards receiving at halftime. And a second and manageable.
Neither team has done a good job in getting the other team's quarterback off their mark, to make them change their angle, to confuse them. And you mentioned something a moment ago, holding serve. That's a good analogy because which team can keep scoring? You're going to have to score against that hold.
And Caldwell facing the pressure. He's brought down. Not sure if he was able to get a gain or if it will go in the book as a sack, but either way, the tackler David Hudson's got to be happy about that.
On the quarterback keeper.
Was keeping my eyes fixed on Quatisha Glenn, number 77, the right guard, had a big hunk of uniform for the Howard guy right in front of the officials. I guess he had his arms wrapped around him so well that he couldn't tell if it was a hold or not.
Subtle art, that.
But a break for NCCU on that, but yet another third down and long.
Caldwell pressured, hit as he throws. It's incomplete, out of bounds. So a couple of plays where they're able to pressure the quarterback. The Howard defensive line comes through, and the Bison are going to get the football back, punting unit on the field.
One of the first times where you look for your check down receiver and you're not able to find it, David Hudson, the outside linebacker, and Zaman Robinson do a really nice job in putting pressure and converging on the quarterback, Chauncey Caldwell, and made Caldwell look for a secondary receiver and had to get rid of that ball sooner than he wanted to and gets them off the field.
So we're at 9:19 to go in the third. This is our first punt of the football game, and it's a pretty good one inside the 30. Fair catch by Ezzard at the 27, we'll call it. And Howard gets the football back with a chance to take the lead again, trailing by 5 points. And now the pressure is on here. We talked about holding serve. Now it's kind of like you've got the break and you're ready to consolidate.
Exactly. There's the break.
But you've got to take advantage. It's almost like when You got a baseball pitcher coming out after you got a couple of runs. You got to put out that
baseball.
zero.
I knew you'd get a baseball in there before.
Got to. Been watching too much postseason this weekend, I guess.
But that set that they started
here
off
comes a lot of the
first
big
series, two tight ends, 2 backs in the backfields, read option and pass.
Ooh, and Newton has some pressure, rolls out and throws a pass incomplete. Good job to pressure Newton there. That was Dorsey. Or Royster, I should say.
Yeah, it was Royster with the pressure, and you've got Chaney that's in the short area. But if Newton could have just gotten one more second, there was so much pressure. He had a trail receiver in the area, and it could have gone for a big play. Malik Hyatt, we haven't talked a lot about him this afternoon.
Hyatt, the tight end, did have a 30-yard connection against Bethune-Cookman in their last game, but has been quiet since then. Now they hand it off to Brandon. Haven't said his name a ton in this football game, but he gets a nice connection. It's enough for the first down.
Marquez Brandon, and you're right, we have not talked about him. A guy that you know wants to play well today from right across the street at Hillside High School. Had a nice run, but a big-time hit by Devontae Reynolds. And talking about backs that can make plays, Reynolds is certainly one of those for North Carolina Central.
Yeah, there's a guy whose name we have said a lot early on in this game, in this third quarter. Newton slings it and gets a completion. Won't be enough for the first down to Jaquez Ezzard, but it's awfully close. It'll just be a couple more yards.
I was watching the full field coverage, and Central was rushing 4, dropping 7, and there were deep drops, trying not to let anybody get behind you. So Ezzard just finds that little empty, those little soft spots in the zone, and a nice pass to the outside by Kalen Newton.
Closing in on 8 minutes left in this third quarter. Howard trailing by 5. Newton throws over the middle. Anthony has it in space at the 40-yard line and pushes forward just shy of the 35. Another big play connection to Anthony.
Central's played 5 football games. In those games, they've given up 295 passing yards, 145, 202 to Harrison at Duke, and Stanley for 254. The 4 touchdowns was the most. What I'm saying is that they're giving up a lot of passing yards, and you're seeing some holes in the defense right now, and Kalen Newton is taking full advantage of that.
So 1st and 10 at the 37 for Howard, and the handoff goes to Dorsey, and Dorsey doesn't get a lot. He loses a couple of yards. Good stuff by the defense. A couple of players in on the play.
Brandon Bailey, the outside linebacker, who came in having made 22 tackles and a big game, the first game of the season against Prairie View with 10. And they look at their linebackers of King, Keaku, and Bailey, and then also Reynolds, who's that hybrid, as we mentioned earlier, plays a little bit inside, plays the outside, to be the sure people for their defense. It's a big tackle for him.
Bailey's 4th TFL of the year. Now Newton facing more pressure. Hit as he throws. Pass winds up incomplete. And the pocket collapsing on Newton. That hasn't happened a ton in this football game. A lot of energy right now in this defense for North Carolina Central.
Well, they understand that they're being picked apart a little bit right now, and you saw the pressure coming from the outside. I think that was Royster, number 43, that maybe put his hands or got his on the shoulders of Caitlin Newton. Newton not able to step into that throw. Nearly had that one picked off. So another 3rd down and long this time for the Bison.
So 3rd down and a dozen for Howard. And they'll run through the signals again.
Better hurry.
5 wideouts, play clock down to 1 second. They're going to have to call time, or the flag is flown. It's no timeout is called. They just did get the timeout just before the delay game. So they have to burn a timeout. In a game like this, who knows if that'll come back to haunt you later in the football game. But with 3rd down and 12, Howard has a chance to talk this play over. So today here at O'Kelly Riddick Stadium, this is the Veterans and Active Duty, the First Responders Day. NCCU Athletics Department wants to recognize all the active duty and veterans that are at this football game or watching on our stream or listening on the NCCU Sports Network. I want to thank them for their service. The NCCU Veterans Resource Center presented them with a token of appreciation before this football game got started.
And we can't thank them enough for all that's gone on in this state the last couple of weeks with the hurricane and whatnot, risking their lives to help others. We thank them enough, and so NCCU doing a great thing. Here's 3rd down.
And hit as he throws another big stop for the defense for North Carolina Central. Well incomplete is the pass from Newton. who got hit hard.
Fourth down.
And fourth down is on the way. That looked like Matt Stevens, who was the one pressuring him there.
Well, there was pressure, and you saw something we haven't seen all afternoon. Caitlin Newton on his backside. So fourth down, good field position, big play for both teams. The defense of NCCU, can they stand up?
And it's a punt. Third time they've run that this year. Newton punts it into the end zone. So that's the third time they've run that little quarterback punt. Goes through. It'll be a touchback, and NCCU gets the football back. So they get the stop they were looking for. Still ahead in this football game by 5. This is NCCU MEAC Football on ESPN3. Welcome back to O'Kelly Riddick Stadium. NC Central getting the football back after the punt went for a touchback, starting their drive at the 20. And the first play is a handoff, and Totten dispatches a would-be tackler and muscles his way in for 5 yards. Totten's physicality, we've talked a lot about it, has been really impressive throughout this football game.
Really, this might be the coming-out game for Isaiah Totten. The 88 yards rushing a couple of weeks ago against Duke and had the one touchdown, but has been bottled up. But today, fighting off tacklers, playing under control, and again, the thing I like about a guy that's very physical, not fumbling the football, no making mistakes.
Tight end McLeod in motion here for the Eagles. And Caldwell gets a block from McLeod and pushes his way into first down yardage and muscles all the way to the 40. They count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white shirts trying to bring him down.
He said, take that, Howard. Got Sherman McLeod, 6'2", 225-pound freshman, leading the way. And again, a nice job of reading your blocks at the line of scrimmage, following your big tight end, and getting the first down for the Eagles.
This is an important drive for North Carolina Central. Some points at the end of this could extend this lead and really get this crowd excited. So Caldwell, a screen pass to McCoy, and McCoy gets a couple before he's wrestled away. Good tackle from Brian Cook. Wow. The leading tackler on this Howard Bison team, showing off his strength, but there is a flag there.
There is a flag, but I'll tell you what, that won't take away from Brian Cook's play. He delivered a blow, got rid of the blocker, and then made the quick tackle.
And it's a hold on the Eagles. They charged that on Malik Reynolds. Charged with the hold. The left guard who came in after Andrew Dale left with an injury in the first half.
And I guess Mike London's going to try to play the field position game. A little surprised that he wouldn't decline the penalty and make it a second down and about 9 or 10, as opposed to accepts it, making first down and 20.
Especially when you have a quarterback that's working as well as Caldwell has been.
Yeah, a little surprised at that. Maybe he feels like his defense could hold him to get field position and score real quick.
Watson in the backfield now for Central. He moves out to his right. Now receives the handoff. Up the left side, flag on the play again, and Watson falls beyond the 45, but perhaps some more holding on this play.
I think they're going to get E.J. Hicks this time for North Carolina Central, the wide receiver.
Holding. Offense, number 71.
No, it's another one on Riddick Reynolds.
Reynolds.
So that's the same player, back-to-back plays with the same penalty. And they will take this. So this is first down and a mile now for Central. They need to get
push them back again.
They need to get to the Howard 49 to move the chains.
Riddick Reynolds is 6'5", 360-pound sophomore from Sanford. Played over at Northmore High School. Good football tradition over in that area.
First and 30.
So it's first down and 30. Let's see what Caldwell can come up with here. Needs time, has it, fires over the middle, looking for Hicks. He overthrows him by just a bit.
That was a nice throw. That was a nice throw by quarterback Chauncey Caldwell.
And E.J. Hicks, knowing how close he was to what would have been a huge catch,
incomplete,
heads back to the sideline. So the incomplete pass brings up second and 30.
One thing Howard's got to be careful about. You've got them backed up. It's third down and a long way to go. And trying to make the big play here, the kill shot, just keep them in front of you. You're going to get reasonably good field position. Rushing 3.
And 3 is enough for the sack. Howard delivers. Isaiah Flood, the senior, takes down Caldwell.
Isaiah Flood, we haven't talked about him a lot this afternoon either. His fourth tackle for loss, his first sack of the season comes from his outside in spot, gets rid of a blocker, and it's got the quickness to make the play, and NCCU's offense keeps going in reverse.
3rd down and 38. One of those where you're knocking on the door of trying to get back to the line of game with the punts. So Caldwell gets this play.
That first penalty was a good decision, baby, by Mike London.
Shows how much we know in the booth. They hand it off to Watson, and Watson brings it inside the 20, but that'll bring up 4th down and forever, and the punting unit is back on the field.
That's a good safe call. You don't want to make a mistake down there. Getting rid of the ball, let your defense hold them. Javin Robinson of Howard with a solid tackle, 4th and 29, and you think that you're going to get plus 50 territory on the return, and Howard's back in business. 2 costly penalties by North Carolina Central.
So we didn't see a punt at all in the first half of play, and now we've seen a few in this second half. As the punt is away. This is short. This is not going to make it to the line of gain. I don't think it'll stop right at midfield. So they needed to get to the 49 to get a first down. They only get it to the 50, and that is where Howard will have it. They'll have 1st and 10 there, trailing by 5, 3:21 to go here in the 3rd quarter of play. And a big opportunity here for Howard. They've got good field position. They take advantage of some miscues on that North Carolina Central offensive series.
And let's see if Brennan Marion, the offensive coordinator for the Bison, tries to strike quick, fast, in a hurry on this possession. You've got excellent field position, a quarterback that makes solid decisions, and a guy that can hurt you with his legs or with his arms. Again, they started off in what we're going to call their 1st down formation, 2 tight ends.
So they hand it off to Royster, and he heads up the left side and gets maybe 5, or Dorsey, I should say. Flip-flop on the defensive end, but Dorsey is in for the 4-yard gain is where they wind up spotting that. So 2nd and 6.
They were 1 step away from breaking that, making that a bigger play, but something give you comfort. On 4th down, picks up about 4 yards.
So Newton, flag on the play, 2 flags on the play in the neighborhood of holding. 3-year down as he throws it away. Not often you see 3 penalty markers on the field, and 1 came after the first 2. So we'll see if there are any separate infractions here. And our referee, Rick Warren.
Chop block, offense, number 60 and number 4, 15-yard penalty, 2nd down.
So a couple of chop block penalties, 15 yards.
Anthony Young and Iggy Risanya, one hit him high. You've got, if you're going to hit a player, one's got to hit him, and then you've got to release. You can't do a high-low blocking combination, so that'll move them back. So now it looks like Howard's going in the opposite direction. See if they can get a 3rd down and 30 or 29 or whatnot.
Well, who saw this coming after that first half where both offenses were just moving at will? But Newton now with some work to do, lets it fly well incomplete. Looking for Gillespie, the intended target there, the junior. And so it's another long odds here on this offensive play. 3rd down and a lot.
When we get to the end of this quarter, North Carolina Central will have played defensively close to 55, 60 plays from scrimmage. And you just start to begin to wonder with the pressure, the push, are they getting a little fatigued right now?
Newton faces pressure and has to get rid of it. Flag on the field. This might be grounding.
No, I think it's going to be a late hit.
You're right. It's a roughing the passer call.
Yeah.
And that's a huge call because it brings up 1st down.
I think I heard him say he hit him low. We have to take a look at that on the replay.
That's what I heard as well.
Quarterback protection, protect the legs. If that's the case, you're exactly right. Another huge, costly penalty by North Carolina Central.
So 1st and 10 at the Eagles' 46. And the handoff goes to Brannon, who doesn't get much.
Central had 11 penalties in their loss opening season to Prairie View. Every game they've played, all 4 of them, they've had over 8 penalties, 11 against Prairie View, 10 against North Carolina Central, against Duke, and also in the game the other day against St. Augustine's a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, penalties have plagued this team, and that was a costly one.
Newton has Anthony out to his right and finds him inside the 40. Anthony had space and is tackled right where he stood. But it will be third down and short coming up.
Well, they run such good routes, so you want to try to protect deep, nothing over the top. So you drive the defender back, and then it's just not quick recovery time. That was pretty well defended by Malcolm Johnson.
So Johnson brings him down. Third down and 3 where this football is spotted. They need to get to the 36 to move the chains. And Newton decides to run there himself, and he gets there with a couple more yards, brought down with some force out of bounds. Matt Stevens landing on him in the North Carolina Central sideline. But the chains are moving with 1:29 left in this third quarter of play.
Will it be first and 10? Howard.
So Howard's offense getting back into a rhythm here in this third quarter. Newton now at 300 yards passing and 50 yards net rushing. So a very clean stat sheet for him. 350 all-purpose yards when you add the passing and the rushing together. Such a dynamic player. And he's ready to go again. He'll keep it again. He's got plenty of space. He's into the red zone, and he's inside the 15.
Newton, the quarterback.
Again, if you are dropping in coverage, especially if you're one-on-one with those cornerbacks, you got your back to the play. There are going to be open areas, and if you can get through the first line, as Newton has been able to do a couple of times, he can pick up big chunks of yards, and you've seen it on the last 2 plays.
So first and 10 flag on the play, and is this another
illegal participation?
Yes. So this is the second time we've seen this from Howard. 12 men on the field. And when you run a lot of unusual formations, sometimes guys can get confused, but that's the second time, and not just the second time in the game, but the second time in the red zone that we've seen that penalty on Howard. So it's backed up to the 20, first and 15. But of course, for Newton, under 5 yards is a manageable distance for him. He fires it over, looking for Ezzard. He gets it, and he loses the football going down. Incomplete pass. Good coverage on the play from North Carolina Central.
That was a total breakdown defensively because Ezzard was wide open. And if Newton should have gotten rid of that football a little quicker, that's going to be a touchdown. He goes to the deep corner route, and that ball just stays in the air forever. Fortunately for North Carolina Central, defensive backs able to get there and maybe break it up. And the official was a little slow in making his call. Want to see if he held it complete to the ground. But, wow, North Carolina Central dodged a bullet. And for Howard, the opportunity may not come back again. You got to take that.
The sophomore Aaron Duncan was the man that caught up to that play. The DB for North Carolina Central. Run up the gut from Dorsey. Or rather Parson for Howard.
If I'm Howard, I don't know if you'll get another play before the end of the quarter, but if I'm Howard, I'm thinking 6. I'm not thinking field goal on this drive.
So that will finish up the third quarter of play, kind of a cagier quarter than we saw in the first half of play. Each defense has a little bit more to put a feather in their cap on this game, but we have a lot of football left and a tight football game, 31-26 Eagles, as the fourth quarter gets started here in Durham. This is MEAC Football on ESPN3 and the NCCU Sports Network.
The all-new Acura RDX with ELS Studio 3D sound. It's everything we ever imagined and then some.
(31-26) as the fourth quarter gets started, and we'll have to wait a little bit longer before we get to this play here. But you mentioned as we were going in that Howard is looking for 6 points here, not trying to settle for the field goal. The way this game has gone, that was a third quarter that didn't look a lot like the first two. There was more miscues on offense. Quarterbacks didn't look quite as comfortable, but this is still a game where defensive stops are at a premium. And if you're North Carolina Central, holding Howard to 3 has got to be a big boost. So Newton is ready, has those two backs to his left, and lets it fly. Incomplete.
Pass incomplete.
Looking for Anthony.
That third down play, if it was a third down and less than 7, I think you maybe try to go for that to get the points on the board. But now with a 3rd and 13, plenty of time to go, you probably do have to settle for the field goal. Again, the timing just a little too soon on that pass for Newton. Intended receiver just couldn't quite make the break in Kyle Anthony. And again, it could be a big win for North Carolina Central to hold them to a field goal.
So here's the field goal try for Joseph. Sends it up, and it is good. Had plenty of leg and gets through.
Looks like a flag down.
And this is going against the kicking team. So hang on just a moment.
I think he pointed the wrong way.
Yeah, he did. Our referee pointed the wrong direction. And it's running into the kicker. They declined the penalty.
Yeah, it was a 5-yard penalty as opposed to the 15-yard penalty most. So 5 yard wouldn't really help him much.
I was wondering what penalty could have been committed by the kicking team there, but they had the wrong point. So anyway, it is a 3-point field goal. We're back to a 2-point game. It just seems like this has been a game where neither side can shake off the other here with 10 seconds in to this fourth quarter. It's 31-29. North Carolina Central with the football. They'll look to keep running their offense as this fourth quarter goes. For the Eagles, a lot on the line as the shadows start to get longer here on this late afternoon here in Durham. Eagles trying to get their first win of MEAC play. Took a tough loss here on this field last week. Howard, of course, trying to stay undefeated. Won over at Indianapolis against Bethune-Cookman a couple of weeks ago in their last contest. Two teams that had high expectations coming into MEAC play.
The Central schedule, they've got next weekend off, and then they play Norfolk State, who's playing today down in Florida A&M.
And Kennedy takes this out. He's tripped up at the 20, stays on his feet, and gets across the 30-yard line. Pretty good field position coming up for NC Central.
That's the type of play that'll keep your momentum for you. Diving, lunging, trying to get some extra yards. When we're talking about that Central schedule, the Norfolk State game, the Dale State game, both on the road. They'll come back here early November for homecoming against Edward Waters, which is a good NAIA team down in Florida. Don't go to sleep on them. They've got some solid athletes. Bethune-Cookman on a Thursday night ESPN game on the 8th down at Daytona Beach. So this is a key game for NCCU to win because the majority of their games, until they get to the rivalry game against the Aggies, are going to be on the road.
So it's back to Caldwell. Has that tight end in motion again, but before McLeod can do anything, a flag on for delay of game. Play clock hits 0, and 5 yards backward goes the line of scrimmage here. Plenty of penalties in this football game. Howard has 150 penalty yards. North Carolina Central now 110 with that delay of game. That's their 12th penalty of the afternoon.
Season high for them.
McLeod in motion again. But Caldwell fires it to Totten. And Totten hit hard and can't escape the tackler. Terrific play there on the outside. And for a physical running back like Totten, that's a really impressive stop.
Got to be impressed. Zaman Robinson, who's had a nice football game, really comes up. I'm impressed with the defensive backs of Howard, their closing speed. Once they recognize a play, especially the swing pass, the tosses on run plays, they're able to come in there and make some solid plays. And that was a good case by Robinson.
This time Caldwell runs straight up the middle. He's got a lane. He falls forward, and he's there, it looks like, for the first down. That's what the judge is saying. Change or move. A great run from Caldwell.
He takes it out to the 42-yard line.
Just gets the first down yardage.
Chauncey Caldwell closing in close to 100 yards rushing at 76 to begin this fourth quarter. A big play there using his legs. And now if you're North Carolina Central, you don't have to be in such a big hurry offensively. Run this clock down under about 5 seconds, 7 seconds, and then try to get your offensive play. Keep getting first downs, moving the chains, winds the clock, keeps Caitlin Newton and the offensive Howard off the field.
13 and a half left. And with the play clock at 3.
That's too close. I said about 5. I said about 5.
So both sides have now burned a timeout to avoid a delay of game penalty in this second half. 2 timeouts for each team. And if this does become a one-possession game late in this fourth quarter, then it could be tough. Those things have a way of coming back to haunt a team, those timeouts to avoid the delay of game, but trying to prevent a delay of game for the second time on the drive with the play clock dropping to 3 there for North Carolina Central.
We were mentioning a moment ago the future schedule for North Carolina Central. Delaware State next week, a team that's 0-4 with a new coaching staff, 0-1 in the conference. At Morgan State, always a big game. You do yourself a favor and go catch Morgan State versus Howard. Always huge up in the Baltimore, Washington area. South Carolina State, FAM, Norfolk State, they end with a non-conference game against Bryant. So there's some big football games, but this is a huge one for both teams to gain momentum.
Tons of great football coming up in the MEAC as the season really starts to heat up. Getting a look at how teams are up against competition from their own league. Caldwell rolling out. Very good pass to find Taunton there, facing a ton of pressure, and manages to get a 3-yard gain out of it.
And he did a nice job of avoiding one tackler, but then yet staying in bounds. Keep the clock moving on down, second down.
So is this early enough? I know 13 minutes left on the clock, but it's early. It's late enough to start thinking about that?
You gear down just a little bit, just a bit, because of the potency. You want to try to wear this defense down. We talked about the number of plays that the defensive Central's been on. Well, Howard's been out there for a lot of plays as well. You want to keep them off the field, wind them down, and use the clock as your friend.
So Caldwell runs it through the middle, has a good running lane, and gets into Bison territory inside the 45 on the keeper.
Clock stops on the change of the first down, and then it starts again as soon as possible. So again, a good solid drive right now by North Carolina Central as we approach 12 minutes and 30 seconds.
And even if you take the clock management aspect out of it, in this game where we've seen so many quick strikes from each offense, there's something to be said about a nice plodding drive to tire out a defensive unit.
Wear you down physically as well as mentally.
That's right. McLeod's back in the game. He's moving around. Winds up on the right side. They give it to Taunton. Second effort. And not a lot. 2 yards of gain.
I used to say if you follow the guards, you can find the football. If you follow that H-back, that tight end a lot of times in Central's offense, you're going to find the ball. Sherman McLeod, 87, the tight end, does a really good job of being that lead blocker.
2nd and 8.
Howard will use that H-back occasionally offensively. Haven't seen it a ton today. But second down and pretty long. 2nd down and 8 coming up for the Eagles. And McLeod's back in there to the right of Caldwell. This time he's running out over the middle. Caldwell airs it out, looking deep, and it's too long. Incomplete pass. Intended target was Martin.
Incomplete.
Nearly a huge play.
Down.
Take your shot. You're in plus territory if you're Howard, and again, just a little bit outstretched arms of the intended receiver and good defensive coverage that time. You force a 3rd down. So if you're the Bison right now, you got to think, hey, let's get this play, hold them, get the ball back, and we've got plenty of time to score.
So Caldwell has 4 wideouts here. Taunton in the backfield, but he's looking to throw it. Goes over the middle. Stevens reels it in inside the 30. First down coming up for North Carolina Central.
Football, like basketball in a lot of ways, is about matchups. Can you get one of your better players in the open field against a linebacker or about a smaller defensive back? That was a nice situation where you got a wide receiver that runs a nice out, cuts in over the middle, and has got inside leverage on the defensive back and is able to get the first down. It's a nice pass and nice play. Good design of the play.
A lot of big plays from Stevens in this game, it feels like, and he's in motion here, though they hand it off to Taunton up the right side, and he is stopped. Big hit from the D-line from Howard As Totten stopped by Josh Verona, the redshirt sophomore, or rather.
From the 25.
I think it was Marcellus Allison,
that's
actually.
right.
I think there was Allison.
My mistake.
Who's another one of these guys that's a local player here from Durham and, wants to play well in front of his old family and friends. So, big-time stick there. But, again, NCCU very methodically with this drive. We've had the ball almost 5 minutes.
Inside of 10:20 left in the fourth. Caldwell to Totten. Totten into the red zone, has the first down. This has been an encouraging drive for North Carolina Central. Seen a lot of good offense today, but here in the fourth quarter, they are moving down the field at their own pace.
Send Totten out in motion to use him as a pressure release if nothing's deep there. And you know that Caldwell's not going to put any pressure on it. Okay, I look down, I survey the field, nothing there, throw to my valve guy, that's going to be Totten. He does enough for another first down. It's a very solid offensive concept right now to use the clock and try to get in position to score by North Carolina Central.
This time, Caldwell rolls left, now throws over the middle, looking for Barnes. He's wrapped up in the end zone, and it's incomplete.
Tell you what, I love the play concepts that North Carolina Central's throwing at you. Brian Cook has great recovery speed. We talked about that all afternoon, and he had to make a big-time play to break that pass up. They do influence again. Remember, you follow 87 to tight end. They're all going to the left. He's going to throw there short. Caldwell's got good footwork, throws back across the field to the post, but again, a good play by Brian Cook.
So 2nd down and 10 on tap for NCCU. And Caldwell takes this through the middle, muscles his way through. He's inside the 10, flag in the air after the play. Way back in the backfield, the only Eagle that was over there was...
I can't tell you if this is going to be on Central or on Howard because both of those guys were battling each other.
Huh.
Yeah.
So
Jalen Barrington.
An unsportsmanlike conduct call brings it all back.
So there's a lot of stuff that goes in under the pile, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on after the play when you're looking at the backside and not that. And you couldn't. I thought it was Barrington, and I'm not quite certain who it was. Might have been Quentin Hill or Sims.
It looked like Barrington, but
yeah. Well, I know it was Barrington for North Carolina Central, but they were pushing and shoving a little bit after the play, and they got a little physical. So the officials get that, and another big break for Howard and a bad decision by North Carolina Central.
So 3rd down coming up. They need to get inside the 10, and the pass broken up, nearly intercepted. A couple of Bison collide. That is a lucky break, you might say, for the Eagles there. 2 guys right on that ball. Nearly had our first interception of the game, but not to be.
Caldwell nearly made, in my estimation, one of his first passing mistakes. Nothing to run and tries to throw that up, try to really be fine with a pass in the deep middle of the field, and very fortunate that that ball was deflected, primarily broken up by 2 Howard defenders.
So Lippy is out for another big field goal. Snap good, the hold is good, it's got the distance, and the kick is good. Boy, Adam Lippy is coming up big for North Carolina Central, and the Eagles extend their advantage. In this football game, they take a ton of time off the clock. 8:58 to go in the fourth quarter of play. It's back to a 5-point advantage for North Carolina Central. So NCCU ahead by 5. Howard will get the football back and look to respond. This is MEAC Football on ESPN3 and the NCCU Sports Network.
At least we don't have to worry about homeowners insurance. Just call Geico.
Good to know. Get to know Geico for homeowners insurance.
So welcome back to Durham. An awfully long drive from North Carolina Central takes as the kick is off out of bounds. So a flag is off. This comes off the heels of a 42-yard field goal that goes through for Adam Lippy. That gives North Carolina Central a bit more of a cushion, but Howard has a chance still to take the lead on this drive. Carter Woodile alongside Stan Luter. And what is in the mind right now if you're Kalen Newton heading into this drive?
I don't think there's a lot of panic. I mean, they're a quick strike offense. Plenty of time. 75 yards from pay dirt. But you have to score. You can't make a mistake. Keep the pressure on North Carolina Central.
So 1st and 10 after the illegal procedure. We're starting at the 35 here is Howard. And pass is complete, tackled for what looks like a slight loss as the Bison move backward by just a touch.
Haven't talked about Ailey much this afternoon in the second half. Had a couple of catches early. He used him on the seam, had two catches for about 40 yards. That time, North Carolina Central defenders were ready for it. And we talked about the quick strike offense. Going into this afternoon, Howard had scored 6 times in 2 minutes or less. So time's not the factor so much to them right now, but they would like to get some points up.
Newton letting this fly. Ezzard has it. He loses his man, but he stumbles at the 25. What a grab. And talk about a quick strike. They get it down to the 25-yard line. These receivers, we talked about it at the top of the show, Jaquez Ezzard and Kyle Anthony. We've seen a lot of Ezzard in this football game. Already has 3 scores and gets a huge play there.
Ezzard might have gotten away with a little bit of a push there, but this is the crazy how this is. This is the 3rd game they played this year where both of those receivers have had 6 catches or more in the same ball game.
This time they keep it on the ground and hand it off to Dorsey, who continues to push his way through the tackles. Good move from Dorsey. He gains about 5 yards.
You try to soften up that middle a little bit with the little RPO action, a little dive inside. Now Kalen Newton can go to his toolbox and kind of run basically anything he wants to. You can get outside, you can go RPO, you can throw 3 wide receivers to the near side.
Can Howard find the end zone on this drive? Held to a field goal last time around. They hand it off again. And this time, Dorsey doesn't get quite as much.
And if you remember middle of the second quarter and early third quarter, Howard had a lot of success running the football. And now, all of a sudden, the last couple of times, they've had a hard time going up the middle against this tough NCCU defense. Got to give them a lot of credit. They've been able to stop the run. Khalid Brunt, Yahoo, who was out early in the ball game, did a good job when he was in. Darius Roster, among others.
So 3rd down and 3 on the way. They hand it off to Dorsey up the left side. He's tripped up at the 20. Good job to catch up to him. That was Marcus Martin, I believe, for the Eagles there.
Wow. Is that a huge tackle by Martin? Because if he doesn't make that play, you can almost rest assured there's going to be a first down by Dorsey and maybe even more. Here's a big play. What will Mike London and staff decide to do? 22 on the play clock. They've got time.
0 for 1 on 4th downs today. Newton hands it off, and Dorsey has all kinds of space. He is in for the touchdown. How about that? They go for it on 4th down and come up with the score. Dorsey takes it in, a 19-yard score.
Well, you're asked about the time. Time is not a factor right now for this team. Great execution there. The line of scrimmage is won, and we talked about it earlier. Who wins the line of scrimmage has a great chance of winning this game. Give a lot of credit to the Howard front 5 of finding the hole and then the speed of Dorsey to take it inside and then outside and into pay dirt.
And the Bison looking to try and make this a full field goal. They're going for 2. And Newton facing pressure, lets it fly at the last moment and has it not quite picked off. It's an incomplete pass. Doesn't matter. The 2-point conversion fails. But Howard is back on top, up by just 1 with 6:19 to go in the 4th quarter of this football.
No, I was in the middle. I was in the middle.
Yeah, go. Okay, come on.
Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville.
So welcome back to O'Kelly Riddick Stadium. Carter Woodell and Stan Luter here with you. The time of this game, the part of this game where the clock becomes a big factor, headed into the final minutes of football. Howard up by just 1, 35-34 Bison. And a fumble from Watson, who's bringing this up for North Carolina Central, and he can't get past the 15. So not good field position here for the Eagles.
The strategy there with the new rule about declaring for a fair catch and getting the ball to 25. There was one of those times where, and you want your players to be aggressive, but it's something to think about. If you declare a fair catch, the ball's going to come out irrespective of where it goes in the air. You don't advance the ball. They can pick up 5 yards and save about 8 seconds on the clock. May not be a big factor, but as you get into 6 minutes and 12 seconds in a one-point ball game, every second, every yard becomes more and more important.
So let's see how Caldwell can handle this. 6:12 to go. 1-point deficit. And he has it batted down. So Caldwell's pass knocked right out of the air. Looked like Dominique Smith was the man that got his hand to it. The middle linebacker from Cincinnati, the senior. So 2nd down and 10. And the clock comes to a stop. Caldwell looking at 4 wideouts. He's got Totten with him in the backfield. And he has Totten for some blocking as he runs it up. And a host of Howard defenders, Brian Cook among them, bring him down after a gain of nearly 5.
We talked about that guy again, Brian Cook, inside, makes a play. They tried to pull their guard to the outside that time, North Carolina Central, and try to make a play of that, try to follow in behind him. But Cook did a really nice job of breaking up the play and then getting some help. So here's a big call there for the Eagles with 5:35 to go. 3rd down and about 5 yards to go. And I don't think it's panic time if you don't get this to try to go for it. Maybe your defense can hold, but you've got to be very smart. Play clock down to 5.
Got to get to the 25 to move the chains.
Got to hurry.
Caldwell needs this. Play clock hits 0 for a moment, but it must have just been after the snap. They get it to Martin, who stays on his feet trying to get to the 25. He's not quite there. A yard or 2 short. Going to be 4th and 2 for the Eagles as the clock ticks under 5 minutes.
Great effort that time by Mart, but even better so by Aaron Walker, the sophomore from Washington, D.C. that came up and made the initial hit on that play and slowed him down enough to get some help and make this 4th down a little short for North Carolina Central. 4th down and 3, and a wise decision. Flip the field, see if you can get your defense to make one-time plays.
So out comes Jean Picaro for the punt. A lot of pressure on this as well. It's a good one. Fair catch called for, and the Bison start their drive at their own 37 as Ezard elects to make the fair catch. So a lot on this drive. Howard trailing by a point with time ticking away in the 4th quarter. MEAC to get this offense from Howard, get Kalen Newton off the field as soon as they possibly can.
You thought Parson, the way his head and shoulders moved around, and maybe he did. Someone grabbed the face mask, but you saw no penalty, and you didn't even see the player complain, so this is a good, solid tackle.
Yeah, one of those that...
And a pickup of only 1.
Newton lets it fly toward the right side, and Ezard can't get to it. Creating a little bit of contact there with Evans, the cornerback, but it's an incomplete pass.
A little surprised at the play call there on the long 2nd down. Maybe the 1st down play, you didn't get anything trying to get it all back, but now you're faced with a 3rd and long situation. You don't get that. You give the football back to North Carolina Central and plenty of time for them to win it with a touchdown or a field goal.
Yeah, stops
good
the
coverage.
clock.
Yeah, good coverage by Evans there.
3rd down and 9. They need to get to their own 47. So get another 1st down on the board. Newton facing some pressure. Still scrambling. And he heads out of bounds.
Great job NCCU that time in 2 ways. Number 1, good coverage downfield, nowhere to throw the ball. Cox does a good job holding contained along with Bailey, but the most important thing, they're able to get Newton out of bounds. Clock stopped for a moment, but now they've got it around. I guess they're saying the initial hit and takedown occurred during the field. You see a couple of the Central guys kind of talking a little bit about that, but the clock remains. So 3:20 and probably about 3 minutes, you're going to get the football for NCCU. Plenty of time.
That's probably the biggest defensive stop of the football game
for
the North Carolina Central Eagles. And a low snap on the punt gets it away. And no one's there to get this. It rolls out of bounds at the Eagle 34.
Eric Cunningham almost made a huge mistake when that ball was kicked and then took that bounce. He thought about trying to field it for a second, pulled his hands away at the last moment, and the coaching staff, fortunately for him, they're right in front of him. They gave him a little information that I think he'll remember for a long time now. But here we go, 3:08 to go, 2 timeouts remaining for both teams. The Eagles, and we've seen Lippy kick the ball from over 40 yards. So again, I think you got to get about 30, 35 yards to get him comfortable. But we'll find out in a minute.
A field goal will be enough to give Central the lead, 3:08. Nobody in the backfield with Caldwell. And he faces pressure on the first play, rolls out and just flings it over his teammate's heads on the sideline. They'll try it again with the clock stopping at 3:02.
Pass incomplete. Second down.
Chauncey Caldwell, the sophomore. We've seen a lot of 2-quarterback, even 3-quarterback games for North Carolina Central, but in this game today, it has been Caldwell's offense to run. Can he bring it home and get a big home victory for the Eagles? He keeps it and tripped up as he dives forward toward the 40. Tackle from Aaron Motley for Howard.
Good solid tackle. Motley's had a nice ball game today. Been around the ball a lot. Put some pressure on the quarterback on the play previously. Forced him to throw it out of bounds. And so a moment ago we were talking about a big third down for Howard. Here's a bigger play on third down for North Carolina Central.
3rd and 6 for NCCU. 2.5 minutes left. Need to get to the 44. And Caldwell scrambling. Needs to come up with something. Throws it into coverage and it's incomplete. And a flag on the play after the fact. 2 flags are down, and players on both teams look a little confused.
Jason Robinson came up and partially deflected that ball. Here's a call. Ineligible receiver.
Ineligible receiver on North Carolina Central. So that's decline, and 4th down coming up.
It's sort of like the RPOs a lot of times when you've got a quarterback that's out of the pocket, he's scrambling and running. Linemen don't know whether to go downfield and make a block, come back, found yourself outside that 1-yard area. And here's the ball game right now in my mind. Here is the ball game, 4th down.
2:24 left. Central has a couple of timeouts, but they're electing to go for this. No one in the backfield with Caldwell. It's up to him.
The yard to gain is the 44.
Over the middle. Complete. E.J. Hicks. Across midfield, and the drive is alive for Central.
2 receivers in the area covering the middle, crossing routes on both sides. Hicks found that soft spot in the zone, able to get a catch from Caldwell, and the Eagles have life.
A big connection to E.J. Hicks, 15-yard pickup to set up the first down. Caldwell again alone in the backfield here. Clock ticks under 2 minutes as the ball is snapped. And Caldwell heads up the middle for a big gain inside the 30. Caldwell into the red zone. He's brought down near the 15. Another big run for the sophomore.
Chauncey Caldwell has delivered all afternoon with his legs. That time he took the time, pressure, felt the time clock in his head. I've got to get something out of here. Season opening and a big play of over 20 yards. North Carolina Central with 1:40 and plenty of room to win this football game.
Clock stopped for a bit while the chains were moved, but it's running again, closing in on 90 seconds left in the fourth quarter.
They need to be at the line of scrimmage now, ready to make a play, unless they've already determined that they want to kick the field goal.
Maybe they're trying to run this clock down a little bit and set up Adam Lippy, who certainly has had a great day kicking the field goals. I think they want to get a little closer. And Totten trying to do that, gets the handoff, flag on the play as he runs up the left side, and let's see where this goes. And if this is a holding call, this could be big. That's what it is.
The line of scrimmage was the 18 for North Carolina Central.
So a holding call pushes it back to the 28. And they'll try first down again. And all of a sudden now with the clock at 1:11. This might change the outlook, perhaps, for the Eagles here.
Well, you've got to have confidence in your special teams. So you're still trying to look, I think, for maybe 10, 15 yards, maybe center the ball to field. But you can use time and use your sidelines if you want to. But you've got to be very careful with the football. If you're Howard, you continue to put pressure.
Caldwell over the middle, complete to Martin. Martin's inside the 15. He tries to hurdle a man and gets a couple extra yards out of that.
A big-time play call that time by North Carolina Central with the middle screen. And Martin does a great job of making the play, concentrating, trying to get extra yards. And Howard put the pressure on but left an open space. And it feels like Central's going to work this clock down for the final seconds.
Boy, talk about a pressure throw. Caldwell, another completion. Looks like Hicks and nearly has a first down. Does get out of bounds on the play, which puts us at 35 seconds left of game time. Still 2 timeouts in the pocket here for NCCU.
E.J. Hicks has had a solid game blocking and trying to make some plays. A nice little out route. The first thing he did, so many players try to get their shoulders upfield. He caught the football first before he turned his shoulders and tried to head upfield.
So first down and goal with 35 seconds left, 7 yards from pay dirt. And Caldwell keeps it himself up the right side, has some room and pushes it inside the 5-yard line. And now with the clock ticking down, NCCU spends a timeout. Time called with 25 seconds left. Ball will be spotted at the right hash. Second down and 3 or 4 on the way. 3 or 4 to the goal line, that is.
Well, I think if you're NCCU, they're making a decision. Do we want to try to take one shot in the end zone, or do we want to try to center the football in the middle of the field and make this almost a point after touchdown for Lippy? And if it were me doing this, you got to understand, too, that Howard still has a timeout or 2. So if you run this to the middle of the field and kneel down or whatnot, they're going to call a timeout. There's still going to be time left on the clock. So, again, your clock management is very important now if you're Mike London as well.
And for this Howard offense that's got plenty of big play potential, I know 25 seconds doesn't seem like a whole lot, but when you're trying to maybe if NC Central goes and centers the ball, brings it into field range, kicks to field goal, now 25 seconds to get into field goal range, that's not impossible if you're Howard the way they've played today and all year.
I think the only person that touches this football the next 25 seconds until Lippy maybe tries to make the field goal is going to be Caldwell. You snap, you let him be active, and you run in the middle of the field, and you have Howard to use one of their timeouts, and it'll be third down. This second down play, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made right now.
So let's see what they come out of the timeout with. 25 left. NCCU trailing by 1, well into field goal range here for a kicker in Adam Lippy that has already drilled 2 field goals in 2 tries, including a 42-yarder today. And a delay here on the field. They're fine-tuning the clock. 28 seconds left. Reminder for the folks tuning in on the NCCU Sports Network, we have the Bojangles postgame show coming up. We're going to have a lot to talk about on that postgame show, regardless of how this turns out. So Caldwell takes the snap. He runs it in. He's across the goal line. Touchdown, North Carolina Central. What a drive. And the Eagles are back out in front.
We had the feeling that Caldwell was going to be the other one to carry the ball. Not so sure. Maybe Howard decided, let's give him the touchdown, knowing that we can get the ball back and have some time remaining. But a great play by Caldwell. It's to take the drive, the length of the field, get in the end zone, and 24 seconds away from victory. What a game by Chauncey Caldwell.
A 3-yard touchdown run, a 9-play, 66-yard drive, 2:44 off of the clock on the play. And North Carolina Central calling a timeout before the PAT. To get everybody together, Caldwell was fired up. He was running up and down the sideline, taking his helmet off after leading that tremendous fourth-quarter drive. 5-point game with 24 seconds left.
Yeah, well, they're still going to need a touchdown, but that's the situation where, you talk to the coaches in their meeting, and I'm sure they would say, man, we hate we had to burn that timeout, but they're glad they did to make certain they know what they want to run. But the reason why you want to force Howard to have to burn all theirs and not give them any time, they're going to go into this little 24-second drive with 2 timeouts remaining where the Eagles have none.
I think maybe one of the reasons is Caldwell was celebrating him. They need to go for 2.
That's my point, though, is that you got to understand, okay, hey, I could celebrate in 24 seconds with the win. You take off down there. Oh, we got to come back and make a play.
Trying to go for 2 to make it a full 7-point advantage.
But I understand his excitement. I'm not mad at you.
He's ready to go and throws an incomplete pass. He gestures for a flag, but no flag comes. So 40-35 our score. North Carolina Central on top. This is enough time for Howard to get something going. They're an offense that has big plays, but if you're the NCCU defense, how do you approach this here?
I'm worried about the kickoff first and foremost. Do you squib it, try to cover it? Do you kick it deep thinking that Howard may elect the fair catch and get the ball to 25 with no clock moving? So how will the special teams of North Carolina Central play this? Chris Schultz, special team coordinator, and crew. Do you kick this ball deep, risking the run back, or do you kick it deep and they fair catch it? You don't know. Do you squib it? Where do you recover the ball? So the kick is important. You don't want to kick it out of bounds. And then from that point on, it becomes playing defense and trying to make a play. The clock doesn't move. I think you've got 2 plays maybe for Howard, possibly 3, just depends. But this kickoff is going to be very interesting to me.
Yeah, let's see where they go. Ailey is back to receive this kick again for the Howard University Bison, joined by Jermichael Jones. Or rather, as the kickoff is up, it is boomed deep, and it's out for a touchback. So they decide to just kick it away.
And I saw Ailey's hand beginning to go. He was about the 2-yard line, and he had his hand up, ready to fair catch it. Saw it was going to go over his head, so okay, no big deal. I got 24 seconds. I got 75 yards if you're a Bison.
Howard with 2 timeouts in their pocket, trailing by 5. They need to score a TD with 24 seconds left in the fourth quarter. They'll start off at the 25. And they're still got those 2 backs to the right side of the quarterback, Newton, who's looking for the sideline, looking for Ezzard, and Ezzard gets out of bounds after a quick hit for a gain of 12.
Took 4 seconds.
That is what Newton can do. He is not afraid of big situations like this. Been treated to a couple of great young quarterbacks in this game all afternoon. Can Newton pull off something heroic here? 20 seconds to go. Need to get to the 48 of Howard to move the chains again. And they do that and more. They find Anthony inside the 40. There's a flag down by the QB. And Anthony gets out of bounds at the 32. Let's see what this penalty is. Cox is there for Central.
And I think this might be a late hit on Cox.
That's exactly what it is. So all of a sudden, with 11 ticks left, Howard has a chance to move into, let's see where all this penalty yardage puts it. So they got to the 32, and then they put it inside the 20.
They didn't make the signal official, waiting for him to make the call, but we know what it was. He indicated to the clock, and now the clock is ready for play.
So first down coming up with 11 seconds left. A couple more plays you'd think for Newton. He airs it out, looking for Ezzard. He's picked off in the end zone, and that'll do it. North Carolina Central denies him. Martin, the defensive back, with the interception.
I think a miscommunication for Howard. The intended receiver goes to the inside, trying to take a short post route. Newton thought he was going to the outside. Ezzard should have gone inside, or being taken back to the out. Gets rid of the football, and it's intercepted by Martin, and North Carolina Central holds on. Won't be too soon, but holds on with 6 seconds left for a huge win.
What a bounce back if this does indeed hold up for NCCU. After such a tough loss on this field last week, to come out and defeat a very good Howard team that was playing good football. We see our first interception of the game with 6 seconds left.
And what a drive by Howard to get the potential touchdown on the board. But I'm telling you what, it looked like it was going to the inside post route and maybe bounce out before he was anticipating. Got rid of it. The pressure by NCCU. And what a ball game. And we're early in October in the MEAC. Everybody's playing some good football.
North Carolina Central gets a big win at home, 40-35, the final score. NCCU wins it. A lot of smiles in the student section, a lot of smiles down on the field. They're back at 500 in MEAC play at 1-1. Howard gets their first loss of the league season. A tough loss for them. Terrific play football game for both sides, aside from maybe the penalties that we saw in this game. But NCCU gets the victory. They win it by a final score of 40-35 and now move to 1-1 in MEAC play. So for Stan Luter, I'm Carter Rodil. We'll say goodbye on ESPN3. We got the Bojangles postgame report coming up on the NCCU Sports Network. Eagles get the win. Final score, once again, 40-35. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the rest of your college football Saturday.